Nepal MPs urge action on economy and rural sectors amid growing challenges. Demand reliable irrigation systems for farmers. Nepal reports rise in child malnutrition in National Nutrition Survey. Highest cases found in Karnali, Sudar Pashchim and Madhesh. Bagmati and Gandaki lead Nepal's provincial growth outlook. Madhesh records lowest despite ranking 4th in national economy. Nepal's ministry restructuring sparks confusion. Public service delivery disrupted as unclear jurisdictions follow after ministries downsized. India swelters under severe heat wave. Scorching temperatures grip large parts of the country as authorities warn of health risk on supplies. And Nepal women's football team bid farewell ahead of SAF Championship. 23-member squad led by Angela Subba to play a tournament opener against Bhutan. Good evening, I'm Bijata Bhandari and this is NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere it is 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Lawmakers in Nepal's House of Representatives have drawn the government's attention to a wide range of national issues, including agriculture, tourism, employment and overall economic stability. During a special parliamentary session, they highlighted concerns over unreliable irrigation management during the monsoon season, shortages of fertilizers and seeds, and warnings of below-average rainfall that could threaten agricultural output, alongside rising human-wildlife conflict affecting rural farmers. Several MPs also urged reforms to expand the tax base, improve digital tax payment systems, strengthen health insurance schemes, and promote sustainable development and tourism growth as key drivers of the economy. Lawmakers further raised social and labor concerns, including unpaid wages for industrial workers, support for marginalized communities, accountability in development spending, and adequate treatment for those injured in past protest movements. They also called for stronger diplomatic engagement to address trade challenges, including Nepal's tea exports to India, and improved rail and border infrastructure to facilitate cross-border connectivity and commerce. Health authorities in Nepal have reported a concerning rise in child malnutrition, according to the government's ongoing National Nutrition Assessment Campaign. The Ministry of Health and Population says the preliminary findings show an increase in both severe and moderate acute malnutrition compared to previous years. Officials report that severe acute malnutrition has risen to 4% from around 1% earlier, while moderate malnutrition now stands at 12% among the children surveyed. Health experts say the highest prevalence has been recorded in Karnali, Sudar Pashchim and Madhesh provinces, where many children are visibly underweight and face heightened health risk. The nationwide assessment, originally scheduled from April 28 to May 14, has been extended into the month of mid-June to complete data collection and strengthen policy responses. The National Statistics Office has projected varying economic growth rates across Nepal's provinces for the fiscal year 2026-27, with Bagmati and Gandaki provinces expected to outperform the national GDP estimate of 3.85%. According to the latest provincial GDP data released on Wednesday, Bagmati province is projected to achieve the highest growth at 5.40%, followed by Gandaki at 5.01%, both driven by stronger economic activity compared to other regions. In contrast, Madhesh province is expected to record the lowest growth rate at 1.31%, despite remaining 4th in terms of overall contribution to the national economy based on consumer prices. Other provinces show moderate performance, with Sudar Pashchim at 3.28%, Koshi at 3.13%, Karnali at 2.94% and Lumbini at 2.87%, highlighting uneven regional economic expansion across the country. Officials say Bagmati province continues to hold the top position in overall GDP contribution, reflecting its role as Nepal's main economic hub. The government of Nepal is facing a major challenge in managing financial resources as it prepares the national budget for the upcoming fiscal year 2026-27. Weak revenue collection, rising current expenditure and increasing reliance on foreign aid and loans are creating pressure on fiscal stability and development planning. Experts say the government must balance priorities such as governance reforms, energy production, digital transformation, education, health and cooperative sector reforms, all of which require substantial funding. Officials note that capital spending has been constrained due to growing costs in salaries, social security and loan repayments, while economists warn of added pressure from slowed economic activity and rising external energy prices. The National Resources Estimates Committee has set the budget ceiling between 1,890 billion rupees and 1,940 billion rupees, with the government expected to raise 1,332 billion rupees in revenue, highlighting the challenge of maintaining fiscal discipline while meeting the public expectations. Weeks after government downsized ministries to 18, confusion looms large over their overlapping jurisdiction and chain of command. Unclear allocation of responsibilities, lack of communication, and ad hoc arrangements leave both citizens and civil employees struggling to navigate the new system. We visited some of the newly merged and split ministries inside Singhadarbad today. Sabika Shrestha brings more.
The government's move to reduce the number of federal ministries from 22 to 18, intended to streamline governance and cut costs, has led to mounting confusion among service seekers and government employees. Due to unclear jurisdiction and organizational structure, not just the service seekers, even the employees look confused. Although the cabinet endorsed the Nepal government allocation of business regulations, merging ministries with overlapping jurisdictions, the transition on the ground remains disorganized. Service seekers report being unsure where to go for basic services, often being redirected from one office to another after the transition. The lack of clarity extends within the bureaucracy itself. Civil employees are still operating from their previous workstations, uncertain about new reporting lines and departmental responsibilities. In several cases, merged ministries have been temporarily labeled as Block A, Block B, and even Block C without clear indication of which services are housed in which block. Adding to the confusion, outdated signboards of former ministries continue to remain in place, misguiding visitors. Even security personnel stationed at ministry premises have not been adequately briefed, leaving them unable to guide the public effectively. Further complicating matters, the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation has been placed under the Prime Minister's office, but a separate building or clear physical allocation has yet to be designated after MP Mahabir Pon demanded single ministry for the research works. This has created additional uncertainty for both employees and service recipients. While the restructuring aims for long-term administrative efficiency, the current lack of coordination, clear communication, and proper logistical planning has exposed serious gaps in implementation. The government must urgently ensure clear allocation of ministries, proper signage, and public communication to prevent further disruption in public service delivery. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Rasila Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
Time now for a short break. We shall be back with more updates. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Now, the government of Nepal has launched an online portal through the Ministry of Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, allowing citizens and stakeholders to submit suggestions on draft bills and existing laws. Minister for Law Sobita Gautam shared this information through a video message on social media on Thursday.
कानुन निर्माण गर्दै गर्दा त्यो प्रक्रियामा नागरिकलाई अनिवार्य जोड्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरामा म स्पष्ट छु किनभने कानुनहरु त नागरिककै लागि बन्ने हो तर नागरिकले आफूलाई निर्देशित गर्ने कानुन कस्तो बन्छ वा बनाउनु पर्छ भन्नेमा आफ्नो धारणा प्रत्यक्ष रूपमा राख्न पाइरहेका हुँदैनन् कानुन निर्माणको प्रक्रिया निकै अगाडि बढिसकेपछिको अवस्थामा मात्र कतिपय अवस्थामा जनस्तरमा पुग्छ बहसको विषय बन्छ कतिपय अवस्थामा त कानुन लागू भएर कानुनमा भएका त्रुटि वा भनम कानुन अव्यावहारिक भएका कारण समस्यामा परेपछि मात्र नागरिकलाई कानुन त यस्तो पो बनेको रहेछ भनेर पछि थाहा हुन्छ त्यसैले कानुनबारे सचेतना पनि दिने र नागरिकलाई कानुन निर्माण प्रक्रियामा पनि प्रत्यक्ष रूपमा सहभागी गराउने उद्देश्यले हामीले यो पहल सुरु गरेका हौं
According to the ministry, the feedback received through the online system will be reviewed by the concerned authorities and may be incorporated into the final draft where necessary. The Department of Immigration has launched a digital time card system to make public service delivery faster, easier and more transparent. The system was officially introduced during a program organized at the department on Thursday. According to officials, the new digital service will allow real-time tracking of applications, instant updates at every stage, and online payment facilities through the digital time card system. Director General Ramchandra Tiwari said the department has already transformed most of its services into digital platforms to improve efficiency, accountability, and public trust. Now, a severe food crisis has emerged in remote settlements of Dai Lake after recent hailstorms destroyed crops, leaving hundreds of families worried about survival. In Naumule rural municipality, farmers say wheat and vegetable crops were completely wiped out by last month's hailstorm and heavy rainfall. In the hilly region, many families rely on harvest that lasts only a few months each year. More than 170 highly affected families have received food support through local initiatives, while the rural municipality has started preparations to distribute relief to other affected households. Officials warn that repeated natural disasters are pushing vulnerable hill communities deeper into food insecurity, increasing the need for long-term agricultural protection and disaster support programs. The number of patients seeking Ayurvedic treatment in Dolakha has been rising steadily as the Bagmati province government expands healthcare services and facilities in the district. According to Ayurved Hospital Dolakha, more than 10,800 people have received treatment so far in the current fiscal year through Ayurvedic and natural therapy services. The hospital reported that over 3,000 people benefited from yoga services, while thousands more received OPD care and treatment under the Chief Minister Public Health Program. Officials say the introduction of additional services, including acupuncture, Agni Karma and Panchakarma therapies, has increased public attraction toward Ayurvedic treatment. The provincial government is also providing 23 types of medicines at a subsidized rate to encourage wider access to traditional healthcare services. Cocoa farming has started successfully in Thapa, with local farmers seeing strong potential for high-income agriculture in the region. Leading farmer Nalkantha Tiwari of Mechinagar 4 cultivated the cocoa plants in Bahundangi after bringing saplings from West Bengal, India 4 years ago. Cocoa, originally native to Ghana and Africa, is widely used in chocolates and confectionery products. Farmers say cocoa oil sells around 2,500 rupees per litre, while other byproducts also have strong market value. Local farmers believe expanding high-value crops like cocoa could help create jobs and increase income, especially as many people are leaving traditional farming due to low returns. International news coming up next. For now, a short breather. A severe heat wave is affecting large parts of northern India, with New Delhi recording temperatures above 46 degrees Celsius and several regions reporting record highs. Authorities say extreme heat conditions are continuing across multiple states, including Uttar Pradesh and surrounding areas. Some locations in Uttar Pradesh recorded temperatures of up to 48.2 degrees Celsius, the highest since 1951. Outdoor workers are taking precautions such as staying in shade, limiting exposure and increasing fluid intake to cope with the conditions. Meteorological forecasts indicate the heat wave is expected to persist for several more days across northern India. Thailand is experiencing continuous heavy to very heavy rainfall, with widespread thunderstorms forecast across most regions, particularly the south. The Meteorological Department has warned that the southwestern coast may see thunderstorms covering around 70% of the area. Authorities have urged residents in low-lying and foothill areas to remain alert for flash floods and runoff. Strong winds over the Andaman Sea are expected to generate waves of up to 3 meters during storms, affecting small vessels. The weather system is being driven by a strong monsoon and a low-pressure area affecting northern and northeastern Thailand. The United States has charged former Cuban leader Raul Castro with conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals and related offenses linked to the 1996 downing of 2 aircraft. The case relates to the shooting down of planes operated by the group Brothers to the Rescue, which resulted in the deaths of 4 people. U.S. officials also announced additional charges, including destruction of aircraft and multiple counts of murder. Cuban authorities have rejected the charges, calling them politically motivated. The case now moves to U.S. courts, where some charges carry penalties ranging from life imprisonment to the death penalty. China has expressed support for Cuba following U.S. charges against former Cuban leader Raul Castro over a 1996 aircraft incident. Beijing has urged Washington to avoid what it described as using legal action as a political tool against Cuba. The U.S. indictment has drawn renewed attention to tensions between Washington and Havana. The development comes as Cuba continues to face economic difficulties and external pressure. The statement follows increased diplomatic exchanges over the case involving the former Cuban leadership. A South Korean flagged oil tanker has successfully passed through the Strait of Hormuz, marking the first such transit since regional tensions disrupted the shipping routes. The vessel, carrying around 20 crew members, had been delayed for months due to restricted access to the strait. The ship resumed its journey after receiving clearance and followed a route through waters near Qatar and the Gulf of Oman. The passage comes after coordination allowing maritime traffic through the strategic waterway. The tanker is expected to reach its destination in Ulsan on June 8. The humanitarian situation in Gaza remains critical, with large numbers of displaced families continuing to live in overcrowded tents and damaged buildings. Temporary shelters have expanded into coastal and port areas due to a lack of safe housing. Access to clean water, sanitation, and basic services remains limited across the affected areas. Continued displacement has reduced available living space, forcing families closer to the shoreline and unsafe zones. Aid agencies report ongoing challenges in meeting humanitarian needs amid the repeated damage to the infrastructure. More international news and sports update after this short break. A traditional festival of Sakata city in Japan's Yamagata prefecture has featured a parade of ornate floats attracting large crowds. The Sakata festival, held at Hiei Shrine, dates back more than 400 years and is one of the region's major cultural events. This year's parade included floats shaped like ships, animals, and a giant lion symbol. A traditional festival in Sakata city in Japan's Yamagata prefecture has featured a parade of ornate floats attracting large crowds. The Sakata festival, held at Hiei Shrine, dates back more than 400 years and is one of the region's major cultural events. This year's parade included floats shaped like ship animals and a giant lion symbol. The lion float, created after a major fire in 1976, is now regarded as a city symbol and cultural attraction. Some festival traditions include children being placed near the lion float as part of a custom believed to bring good health. With that, we move on to sports update. Nepal's women's national football team has been officially bid farewell ahead of their participation in the upcoming SAF Women's Championship, set to begin next week in India. The farewell ceremony was held at the Ministry of Youth and Sports in Singadarbar, where Minister Sashmit Pokhrel expressed confidence that the team would return as champions. Nepal has finalized a 23-member squad led by Captain Angela Subba for the regional tournament organized by the South Asian Football Federation. Nepal will open its campaign against Bhutan on Monday, followed by a group stage match against Sri Lanka on May 31st. A total of 6 teams are competing in the championship, divided into 2 groups. Nepal is placed in Group A alongside Sri Lanka and Bhutan, while Group B consists of host India, Bangladesh and the Maldives. The top 2 teams from each group will advance to the semi-finals. Nepal is playing its last match of the ICC Cricket World Cup League 2 home series against the United States of America tomorrow. The match is scheduled to begin at 9:30 a.m. at the TU Cricket Ground in Kirtipur. Nepal entered the series under pressure while placed 7th in the standings, but has since improved its position to 5th after winning 5 of its last 7 matches at home. The USA currently leads the League 2 standings with 38 points from 27 matches, level on points with Scotland, which sits second from 32 matches. Oman is third with 31 points from 28 matches, the Netherlands fourth with 28 points from 24 matches, and Nepal is in fifth with 22 points from 27 matches. The Democratic Republic of Congo has cancelled its pre-World Cup training camp in Kinshasa due to an Ebola outbreak in the eastern part of the country. Preparations for the national football team have been relocated to Belgium as health concerns continue to rise, with the outbreak reportedly causing more than 130 deaths. The World Health Organization has described the situation as a public health emergency of international concern, while stating it is not at pandemic level. The team is scheduled to continue its European-friendly matches, including fixtures against Denmark in Belgium and Chile in Spain, as part of its build-up to the tournament. The disruption follows travel restrictions introduced by U.S. authorities ahead of the World Cup, co-hosted by the United States, Mexico and Canada. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Nepal MPs urge action on economy and rural sectors amid growing challenges. Demand reliable irrigation systems for farmers. Nepal reports rise in child malnutrition in National Nutrition Survey. Highest cases found in Karnali, Sudar Paschim and Madhesh. Bagmati and Gandaki lead Nepal's provincial growth outlook. Madhesh records lowest despite ranking 4th in national economy. Nepal's ministry restructuring sparks confusion. Public service delivery disrupted as unclear jurisdictions and poor coordination follow after ministries downsized. India swelters under severe heat wave. Scorching temperatures grip large parts of the country as authorities warn of health risk. And Nepal women's football team bid farewell ahead of SOF Championship. 23-member squad led by Angela Subba to play tournament opener against Bhutan. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Meanwhile, do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries, where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices.
where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Inside the quiet courtyard of Baber Mahal, colors seem to breathe on their own. This is Siddharth Art Gallery, home to some of Nepal's most defining contemporary art movements. Today, the gallery opens its doors to Mithila Cosmos, a universe imagined through the brush of artist S.C. Suman, a name inseparable from the evolution of gallery space.
म आफ्नो बच्चैदेखि हजुरआमालाई हेर्दै थिएँ यो भित्तामा उहाँ कोर्नुहुन्थ्यो अब भित्तामा कोर्दै जाँदाखेरि उहाँलाई हेर्दै आएर त्यसपछि म बच्चै बालकालदेखि नै स्कुल जाँदा अनि फुलहरू हेर्दा मलाई हजुरआमाले पेन्टिङ गर्नुहुन्छ त्यसमा रङ बनाउनुहुन्छ भनेर म उहाँको लागि बाटोमा खसेका फुलहरू ल्याएर उहाँलाई दिन्थेँ र उहाँले भन्थे कि ल यसबाट पनि रङ बनाउनुस् यसबाट पनि पेन्टिङ गर्नुस् अनि यो कुरा मलाई एकदम सहजै प्र्याक्टिसमा आएको जस्तो लाग्यो र उहाँको पछि उहाँ भित्ताहरू रङाउँदाखेरि पेन्टिङहरू गर्दाखेरि म उहाँलाई छोडेर कतै जाँदैनथेँ र मलाई पनि काम गर्न दिनुहोस् भनेर उहाँ कहिलेकाहीँ दिक पनि मान्नुहुन्थ्यो कति मलाई माने यो डिस्टर्ब गरेको तिमी जाऊ खेल भनेर त्यही पनि म उहाँसँग बस्थेँ अब उहाँले त्यही पनि उहाँको म बसिरहन्थेँ उहाँले चाहिँ साइडमा कुनै कुनामा एउटा सानो चित्र बनाइदिनुहुन्थ्यो र यसमा तिमी रङ भर भन्नुहुन्थ्यो अनि म छिटो रङ भर्थेँ अनि उहाँले आश्चर्य भन्नुहुन्थ्यो हेर कति मभन्दा पनि राम्रो रङ भर्दो रहेछ भनेर अनि यसरी मलाई चाहिँ मिथिला पेन्टिङले नजिक ल्यायो र म त्यो फेरि त्यो गर्न थालेँ.
What we see today is not just an exhibition, it is a lived memory of culture, philosophy and the changing world around us.
यसरी प्रत्येक घटनासँग जोडिदै आएर एक्जिबिसन आएको हो. 2021 मा मिथिला कस्मस द साइकल अफ टाइम आयो. त्यसपछि त्यो 22 मा सक्यो, 22 को जनवरीमा सक्यो. त्यसपछि अहिले आएर यो 25 मा यो एक्जिबिसन आयो. त्यो बीचको जुन अब फेरि यसलाई कसरी जोड्ने त अब जस्तो कि नेपाल एकाडेमी अफ फाइन आर्ट्समा म काउन्सिल मेम्बर हुँदाखेरि मैले आफ्नो देशको लोककलाहरूलाई हेर्न पाएँ. म लोककला विभाग प्रमुख थिएँ हैन. अनि त्यो हेर्दै जाँदाखेरि म पूर्वदेखि पश्चिमसम्म उत्तरदेखि दक्षिणसम्मका त्यो जिल्लाहरू भ्रमण गरेँ. आफ्ना हाम्रा लोककलाहरूलाई हेरेँ. हाम्रो भनिन्छ हाम्रो देशमा 123 126 वटा भाषा बोलिन्छ. त्यसका आफ्ना संस्कृति छन्, आफ्ना चाहिँ रीतिथिति छन्. त्यसभित्रका कलाहरू मैले हेर्न पाएँ र त्यो सबैलाई जोड्दै जाँदाखेरि एउटा आर्टिस्टले कसरी त्यो प्रभावित पार्दो रहेछ र त्यो स्टुडियोमा काम गर्दाखेरि त्यो एलिमेन्टहरू हेर्नु र त्यो एलिमेन्टलाई आफ्नो पेन्टिङमा चाहिँ समावेश गर्नु यो सहज रूपमा त्यो हुँदै जान्छ र यो सो ल्याउँदाखेरि चाहिँ तलको तल्लामा हामी चाहिँ हेर्छौँ क्यानभास वर्कहरू छ. त्यसमा देवी कथा छन्, गीताका सार छन्, जीवनका त्यो कथाहरू छन् र त्यसमाथिमा आउँदाखेरि उपत्यकाका कथा छन्. त्यसपछि जनकपुरको रामायण र अयोध्याको कथाहरू छ, रामायणसँग जोडिएको कथा छ. त्यसपछि बौद्ध कथाहरू आएका छन्. त्यो सिरिजहरूलाई कसरी एक ठाउँमा हामी कसरी विभिन्न जाति समुदायहरू एउटा साझा फुलबाडी हो त्यसभित्रका संस्कृतिका कुराहरू त्यसभित्रका कुराहरू मैले ल्याउँदाखेरि मलाई त्यो आफैसँग आफूले परिचय गराउनु जस्तो र त्यो मैले कलाको माध्यमबाट बुझेर म यो कुरालाई म आफ्ना नयाँ पुस्ताहरूसम्म पनि यो चाहिँ यसरी हो हाम्रो देश यो मिथिला पेन्टिङ भनेको एउटा समुदाय क्षेत्र समुदायको विशेषको पेन्टिङ होइन यो नेपाली आर्ट हो यदि मिथिला पेन्टिङको नेपाली कलाको कुरा गरे भने मिथिला पेन्टिङलाई छोडेर त्यो नेपाली आर्ट पुरा हुँदैन भनेर मेरो बुझाइमा मैले यसरी यो एक्जिबिसनले ल्याएको
Mithila art carries centuries of tradition from Janakpur, from mythological narratives and wedding symbols to intricate floral motifs that speak of life, devotion, and identity. The power of Mithila painting lies in its detail. Every line, every border, every color has a purpose.
के हुन्छ कलाकारले जब घुम्छ ऊ चाहिँ ट्राभल गर्छ चाहे त्यो देश विदेशको यात्रा होस् चाहे आफ्नो विषयवस्तु खोजी हिँड्छ उसले अनुकरण गर्ने क्षमता मलाई लाग्छ उसँग धेरै हुन्छ उसको दिमागमा त्यो कुराहरू आइरहेको हुन्छ क्या त्यो आइरहेको र त्यो कतै न कतै कुनामा बसिरहेको हुन्छ अब जब स्टुडियोमा बिस्तारै काम गर्दै जाँदाखेरि एउटा आर्टवर्कसँग करिब करिब एक सप्ताह उसले बिताउँछ चाहे 15 दिनसम्म बिताउँछ त्यो विषयवस्तु र त्यसका त्यो फ्रेम अब्जेक्टहरूमा बिताउँछ र त्यसपछि त्यसको दिमाग त खाली हुँदैन ऊ सोचिरहन्छ र सोचेर त्यो बिताएका क्षणहरूमा उसले चाहिँ आफ्नो कलाहरूमा त्यसलाई चाहिँ प्रस्कृत गर्दै जान्छ र त्यो अनुभव बटुलेका चिजहरूलाई उसले चाहिँ त्यतिखेर सम्झँदै उसले चाहिँ केही सम्झना आउँछ र केही नयाँ चिज ल्याउँछ पहिलो एक्जिबिसनहरू गर्दाखेरि त्यो छडिएको हुन्थ्यो जस्तो विभिन्न पेन्टिङहरूलाई ल्याएर एकै ठाउँमा गएर त्यसमा एक्जिबिसन गरिएको जस्तो हुन्थ्यो त्यसपछि के भयो भने मेरो पहिलो मिथिला सोलो एक्जिबिसनको टाइटल पनि म्याथली आर्ट थियो त्यसपछि म्याथली आर्ट लिभिङ ट्रेडिसन भनेर आयो त्यसरी जबसम्म त्यो म्याच्योर्ड हुँदै जान्छ कलाकारले 1-2 स्टेपहरू हुन्छन् त्यो एक्जिबिसनहरूको त्यसले अनुभव पनि बटुल्छ र बटुल्दै जाँदाखेरि भ्युअर्सहरूसँग भेट्छ जर्नलिस्टहरू भेट्छ क्रिटिक्सहरूसँग भेट्दै जाँदाखेरि त्यसको निखार आउँदै जान्छ साधनाको निखार आउँदै जान्छ र त्यो चाहिँ विषयवस्तुसँग जोडिँदै जान्छ र आज आएर यो फ्रेममा चाहिँ हामी हेर्न पाउँछौँ
Art becomes complete only when someone responds to it. In this gallery, every viewer sees something different. A memory, a symbol, a question, a reminder. What do the visitors find in this universe of Mithila?
Well, as an academician, I feel that Mithila painting is like a healing process to people. And this exhibition has expressed itself in a very beautiful way, expressing each and every motive which is present over here related to not only mythology, but also related to emotions of the people. And it is like a story work over here. The entire journey of Mithila has been depicted over here, which speaks volumes not only about the artist, but also about each and every object which has been portrayed over here.
Walking through these halls feels like traveling between timelines. The ancient and the modern coexist. Tradition is not frozen in the past. It evolves through those who carry it forward.
We feel like connected to Sumanji's works because he takes approach that's quite respectful, quite engaging and contemplative, and someone who speaks with contemplation, someone who prefers to remain in a discipline and work from the frame of that discipline. He had chosen the Mithila paintings framework, and he remains in that framework, and he stretches, expands the framework, and develops narrative power, descriptive power, that communicative power with that frame. And that's something amazing.
It may appear abstract at first glance, but spend a moment longer and stories begin to unfold of gods and goddesses, rituals and seasons, and the subtle emotions of everyday life. And within this rich visual grammar, Suman adds his own world, shaped by places he has lived, moments he has witnessed, and the history that surrounds him.
He was among the first generation artists of Mithila art. When he started his career from the kind of humble background he was in, with that financial background, very few people could actually make art and Mithila art in particular their primary career. So that is what separates him from other artists in that regard. However, I will also admit that a lot of other artists have also put in their contribution in the upliftment of Mithila art, and Mithila art has grown due to the collective effort of a lot of people.
From Vivaha Panchami in Janakpur to the lotus of Bodhanath, from the cosmic churn of Samudra Manthan to the silence of COVID lockdowns, Suman brings time onto canvas. His lines become memory, his colors become testimony.
Yeah, there are many favorites. You can see that. If you see that, there are each painting says some story. Like this is the, if you see this, here the wedding, Sita, Mata Sita wedding with the Ram. There is the procession going on, and every painting you will see that there are the nature. The S.C. Suman painting is the nature he captures very nicely. The color combination you will find very rare artists. That type of eye-catching is that one. Many things are within the one paintings.
Mithila Cosmos reminds us that art is not only what we see, it is what we feel, return to, and carry within ourselves.
I have grown in a Mithila household. I've been very closely connected to the Mithila culture. I have been seeing Mr. Suman's exhibitions since a long time, and this is one of the third or fourth exhibition of his that I've been attending. So yeah, that I obviously know about what kind of paintings he does and what time does he conducts these exhibitions. So this is exactly how I found that he was gonna do an exhibition this year as well.
Has a similar sort of providing blessing sort of artwork in the form of like a lakudwa, which like exists in a door frame. So what he's done in that specific piece is behind a lakudwa is a cobra painting, so like a wedding specific painting. So he's combined these two cultures as part of his, and it's part of his own narrative because he moved from Janakpur to Nepal, so that's what he was trying to convey, the mixing of these two cultures. So yeah, I think the mixing and, you know, like venturing out of your own home place, which is very common these days, and traveling and seeing the world, I think that's, I think the contemporary connection.
Behind every exhibition is a vision that guides how artworks converse with space and audience. Curator Sangeeta Thapa has been a key voice in shaping Nepal's modern and contemporary art landscape.
His first exhibition, Mithila Cosmos, began in 2007, and what we have been seeing is that he is really celebrating the art forms of the Mithila world, along with the myths and legends of the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and this is something that we see all throughout the different editions of the Mithila Cosmos journey that he has with the Siddharth Art Gallery. This is his 7th show, and we decided to call it Journey of a Pilgrim because the piety in the exhibition is very apparent, and his knowledge of the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, the myths and legends that we have grown up listening to and learning about, you know, become central to his work. But Sumanji is also talking not only about Mithila art, he's from the Tarai, so he brings in elements from Tharu, Dusad, Salish, different forms of art form from indigenous communities in the Tarai, and he amalgamates it and he really makes it his own. Perhaps the most significant work in this show is called Samudra Manthan, and if you know, this is a story which has been visually narrated by so many artists, from Raja Ravi Varma to early 19th century engravings, but he has, you know, even amalgamated a Hakusai wave into this art form. So that is a really famous painting, The Wave, and you can see that influence has permeated his wave. his painting. Sumanji's themes are not only religious. So whether it is the eco-anxiety that we all feel at present, the destruction of Nisgar forest or the Chure hills, he amalgamates all of that. During COVID, he had a specific work which he, asked the question, why were bats blamed for spreading COVID in the world? I mean, was the virus man-made? So his belief in nature, the natural cosmology of the world, is something that you will see over and over again in his paintings.
As visitors step out, the colors remain. In imagination, in reflection, and perhaps in rediscovering where heritage meets the present.
Pokhara is undoubtedly #1 destination for tourists in Nepal. The valley, blessed with natural beauty, attracts domestic and foreign tourists alike. You must have already visited Pokhara. If you haven't or planning another trip, then these are some of the must-go places in Pokhara. The first attraction in Pokhara is the Feva Lake. Boating in Feva Lake is a ritual for every tourist visiting this paradise. The Tal Barahi temple at the center of the lake adds to the beauty of the place. A round-trip boat ride in Feva Lake to and from the temple is a feature of both the lake as well as the temple. Separate boat ride, watching the reflection of Mount Machapuchre on the lake and fishing spice up the Feva experience. The lakeside along the banks of the Feva Lake is a popular tourist hub. Many tourists in Pokhara choose Devi's Fall as their second destination in Pokhara. The water from Feva Lake exits towards Seti River through the Gupteshwar cave from this Devi's Fall. The mighty water stream rushing deep down into the gorge, covered by water vapor, is a magical sight. Pokhara is known as the city of lakes and caves. Many of the lakes and caves have religious importance. This is Gupteshwar cave at Chorepatan area. Inside the cave, the idol of Lord Shiva is a well-known pilgrimage. Further inside the cave, one can see the Devi's Fall. Mahendra cave is another famous place in Pokhara, and nearby is another well-known Chamere cave. Both the caves can be visited together. Two other well-known tourist destinations in Pokhara are Begnas and Rupa lakes. Fresh fish of Begnas lake is a sought-after delicacy. Rupa lake is just round the corner beyond a small hill towards the eastern edge of Begnas lake. Away from the hustle and bustle of the town, Begnas and Rupa lakes cannot be taken out of a tourist's itinerary. This is the famous white monastery on top of the hill above Pheva Lake. This is also a popular destination for domestic as well as foreign tourists. The top-angle bird's eye view of Pokhara city from the monastery is a sight to behold. The placid Pheva Lake, the tall mountain range, and the birds like paragliding pilots on the background of Sarankot Hill are mesmerizing. The Bindabasini temple in Pokhara is a famous shrine in Nepal. The best route to visit the temple is on the way to Sarankot. Devotees throng the Bindabasini temple, which is atop a small hill with panoramic view of Pokhara city. The Bindabasini temple is famous among the Hindus across the country. Sarankot is a hill station on top of a hill on the northwestern side of Pokhara. A must-go place to see the majestic Mount Machapuchre and Mount Dhaulagiri in the Annapurna range in front of the eyes, and also the Pokhara and Leknath cities on the other side. Sarankot is synonymous to paragliding in Nepal. Taking off from the Sarankot hill, one can enjoy the panoramic mountain range in addition to the bird's eye view of Pokhara city. Ultralight and zip flyer offer a thrill to adventure seekers in Pokhara and are becoming major interests for tourists. Other places, including Swarak in Sangja, have the potential to be world's best place for paragliding. First time in Nepal, Paragliding Accuracy World Cup was held at this place, situated at Mahapur of Virkot municipality of the district. The place drew global attention after the event. Pokhara, famous tourism destination of the country. Majority of locals engaged in tourism industry. The city of lakes and caves, hub of aviation sports. Some major destinations: Lakeside, Pheva Lake and Tal Barahi Temple, Begnas and Rupa Lakes, Mahendra Gufa.
When it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, when it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, the fox's fiancé puts on her wedding gown. The fox's fiancé puts on her wedding gown. When it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, when it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, it's time for the fox to tie all his locks. It's time for the fox to tie all his locks. And get hitched with Miss Fox, and get hitched with Miss Fox. Together with his sweetheart, he sits in a golden car. Together with his sweetheart, he sits in a golden starlings make a sign of love in the air. But all the monkeys don't give a monkey's about this whole affair. But all the monkeys don't give a monkey's about this whole affair. When it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, when it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, the fox's fiance puts on her wedding gown. The fox's fiance puts on her wedding gown. When it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, when it's a sunny day and the rain is pouring down, it's time for the fox to tie all his locks. It's time for the fox to tie all his locks and get hitched with Miss Fox, and get hitched with Miss Fox.
The year 2014, in course of a conversation, a security analyst asked me, Shivani, don't you feel the world is getting chaotic by the day? Fast forward to 2026, the world today is not just in transition. It is in a state of entrenched volatility. From the shifting tectonic global politics to the digital grip of AI-driven warfare, we are witnessing a global chaos that traditional realism fails to explain. But what if the remedy isn't found in more weaponry or treaties, but in the very science of how we as humans exist? Welcome to Geopod. I'm Shivani Thapa-Bosnell. Joining me today is a person who bridges the gap between the internal vacuum and external clutter. Gurudev L.P. Bhanu Sharma, the founder of Jeevan Vigyan. He is a chartered accountant by education, but a systems architect of the soul by calling. Welcome to the show, Gurudev Sharma. Such a privilege it is to have you with us here at NTV World Studios.
Thank you.
Let's dive in to the very, very fundamental question, Gurudev, as we get set to begin the conversation. A quick pan around and everybody knows that we are the most connected generation of all times in human history, right? But yet we are plagued by profound loneliness, and I'm told that loneliness is going to be the problem of the next century, right? We as institutions, communities, or even nations lobby for peace at different forums. But seldom do we find that in our living rooms. Now, in this very backdrop, the modern human, as we are equipped with all sorts of amenities and comfort, yet the most common question I get to hear is, why am I not happy?
Beautifully put. This age we are connected globally through technology, but inside it's a deep disconnect. And unless you are able to connect with yourself, all the connections that you have in terms of, with the society, with the world at large, it becomes superficial. So this superficiality is there in the very core of modern technological framework. And as you put it correctly, what I see is unless you are able to connect with yourself, you will never be able to communicate with anyone around. Okay? So the deep connection which spirituality brings, which meditation brings, the deep connection is going to be the number one superpower for the future. You can be lonely even in a crowd of 10,000 people, because that loneliness is inside you. The more you connect with yourself, the connection with the world, the connection with everyone around will be very spontaneous, otherwise it becomes superficial. So this trend of AI, warfare and whatnot has a very, very deep hole in it. And what will address this deeper problem of humanity, this loneliness, this inability to connect, this is the soul connection. And everyone has to be the architect of the soul. Okay? So that heart-to-heart communication, that heart-to-heart engagement has to be the number one agenda for the future.
Is our Eastern life science merely a set of rituals? Or is it a technical manual for our human mind which we have simply stopped reading?
Spirituality cannot be put into rituals, but through rituals you are able to connect. There is a deep misunderstanding among people that spirituality and religion, they are one and the same. They are not. Religion is something that you believe. Spirituality is something you experience. Religion is something that tells you, probably my religion is different from your religion. But if you are a spiritual person, you can never say that your spirituality is different from my spirituality. So that way, the science, the hidden science that connects all spiritual traditions is the spiritual, all religious traditions is the spirituality. So spirituality connects. And spirituality is experience-based. It is also science-based. That's why we call this Jiva Vigyan, the science of living. And rituals have their own place, but spirituality is much more than rituals. What does a ritual do? For example, when you're trying to talk to your mom, what do? You just think about her, or you go and talk to her. When you want to go and talk to her, you need her there physically, right? So when you want to develop that connection with the divine, whoever or whatever in form it may be, if there is something there, it helps you. Okay? So rituals have been a part of all this process, but not the only part. Today, everything that you have, your mobile phone, your gadgets, everything, they are also some type of rituals. You look at your phone early in the morning when you get up. The first thing probably after you drink your water, you reach out to your phone, right? So it has become a ritual, and this way slowly the culture is emerging. Rituals for us have been very different. And if you see the rituals in this part of the country, is this part of the world, you know, rituals in this part of the world have been there to connect with the nature, because we are the most nature connected country. This is what the Guardian also found out about a couple of months back. But secondly, if you don't want to follow a particular ritual, it's fine. If rituals help you, good, go ahead with the rituals. If rituals, if you think that you are much more than rituals, so rituals do not help you, then you don't need rituals. You need that system and that science to connect with yourself. So whatever you know about yourself, the same thing you are trying to, you know, project onto others. And if you know that you are not just a body, you are not just a mind, you are not just the thoughts that are floating in your mind, you are much more than that. You are a spiritual being. This country, Nepal, you know, the Himalayan tradition has taught us how to connect with oneself before connecting with the people around. Has taught us how to talk to oneself before talking to anyone else. Has taught us how to master our own mind before trying to master anything else. So this is going to be the most important contribution to human consciousness. See, tomorrow the most important infrastructure will be that of consciousness, because we already have the technology, right? We already have the platforms, everything, you know, we have all material positions, we have bridges, we have roads, we have buildings, we have computers, supercomputers, okay, the aeroplanes and supersonic aeroplanes and fighters and weapons and whatnot. Now what we need is the right set of mind to be able to use all this in the greater good of humanity. This is one planet, this is one system, and this is one humanity. You do not have two humanities. Spirituality says, yes, all of humanity, okay, they are same. All human beings are same. Okay? And then it also says that if you love yourself, you will be able to love everyone else. This is what is lacking today.
Where did we fail as a society or a nation? Because it wasn't until recently that people started differentiating spirituality from religion, because largely spirituality is so embedded in religion in Nepal, right? In almost all the practices and in all the cultures and communities. So where did we fail?
This is a science-based practice, but we handed this over only as a belief. Because if it is a belief, then you may not believe. My belief is not your belief, right? So we handed this over to our people, and we also took it as a belief system. Now, belief does not bring in anything. This is the major disconnect that we faced maybe over the last 1 century. This is what I see. And we forgot that just mere reading of scriptures, mere reading of textbooks is not a spirituality. Okay? We also forgot that just visiting temples and gumbas and mosques is not a spirituality. No, the deep love, the deep connection you bring in, your awareness, your presence, and your personal experience, they become spirituality. Now, I'm so happy that, you know, the new generation does not believe in any beliefs. They may be 2,000 years old, they may be 1,400 years old, they may be 6,000 years old, or they may be 10,000 years old. A belief is a belief, but your experience is your own experience.
Our ancestors lived by, Vasudhaiva Kutumbaka, but like meaning the world is one family. That's how they've lived by, and they've passed this on. But today we live by the notion of my fence, my wall, me, myself, right? That the I is so central. How does the philosophy that you're talking, the Jivan Vigyan philosophy, bridge this gap between self and surrounding? Just to streamline, to be more precise, you know, if I am peaceful, does my neighbor actually feel that peace? Or is it just a mere poetic thinking?
There have been a number of researches on this. But there are so many things that science cannot measure. Our ancestors, the rishis, the saints and sages of the Himalayas, the yogis, the gurus, they completely map the human mind and also the soul. So that whole map is available. And luckily, a major part of that is now backed by science, backed by logic, backed by experience, and backed by evidence also. And for example, today, science says that when I am at peace, I spread that aura all around, and at least whatever I am feeling inside, up to at least 8 feet, around me, that aura is immediately spread out. But if my experience of peace is so authentic, so clear, then at least 25 miles will be affected by my peace. And if I can experience peace at the level of my soul, probably I will be able to connect with the whole of not only humanity, the whole of earth, not only earth, all creatures, and all, the whole of universe I will be able to connect. This is what science is slowly finding out. The Himalayan tradition says, don't go to the world to get something. Go to the world to give something. This makes the whole foundation, very different. This is a complete change in perspective. So when you say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, you are not saying that this is my family and extort your family, and just bring in whatever you want to know. It says, if this is my family, it is my duty to serve my family. And no doubt, look at the history of Nepal. For a long time, never in history we have exported any weapons. We have never exported terrorism. Okay? We have never exported conflict. In the form of Buddha, we exported peace to the whole world. Right? In the form of meditation, we exported the deep soul connection. In the form of yoga, we exported the whole system of being healthy, not just physically but also mentally. In the form of naturopathy, we have exported wellness, not illness. What Nepal has brought to the human consciousness is profound. And I think it's time that we started looking into it. We started researching into it. Look at the world today, the whole world today, the whole wars, okay? The whole wars and everything that the world is doing today is trying to grab something from someone else. But Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam says, go out to the world at large, but with compassion in your heart.
Gurudev,
and give it to everyone. Yes.
Right. If that is the case, and despite this richness that we've carried, since ages, since ancient times, why has our society become so transactional?
I think the whole problem lies in our education and upbringing. This Eastern philosophy, this culture, this Oriental philosophy does not find a place in education, does not find a place in family, in growth, okay, in how we nurture our kids, in how we nurture our young ones. So we have paid heavy price for this. I think it has become so costly for us. Okay? But a truth is a truth, no matter whether you own it or not. One day or the other, you have to own it. Okay? The whole universe is one. Look at this word universe. Uni means one, right? It's one. Look at the Sanskrit word for universe. It is Brahmanda. Brahma means the whole, the totality. Anda means body, the body of one being, right? The body of one being. Now, even we had forgotten, as you rightly pointed out, now it is time for us to educate and re-educate ourselves first, and then slowly take this message to the whole world. But I think we are running out of time. The world needs this message. The world needs this orientation. The whole globe needs these, part of the civilization, okay, human civilization now. Let's gear up completely for this.
Security isn't just tanks and missiles. As you say, and from what I read from this conversation thus far, it's more mental health and social cohesion. Now, can Eastern philosophy actually strengthen a society's immune system against the external volatility?
The answer is a big yes. Because when you connect with yourself, when you connect with your own nature, and through that, when you start establishing connections all around, you develop not just inner peace, but also you develop that feeling of inner safety. Okay? And when there is inner safety, when there is inner security inside yourself, and that when that becomes, when that connects with the whole society, you start developing that immune system. The whole society develops that immune system. The whole society will think that, yes, I belong here. Why is there so much of threat? Geopolitically, internationally, whatever you call it. Why? Because everyone says that I do not belong here. Or I say that, Shivani, you don't belong here. And you say that, no, Gurudev, you do not belong here. Right? You do not belong to this world. Somehow, whatever you are doing is very different. You do not belong to this world. We want to eliminate each other. And this knowledge, many people think that this is just soft power. No, this is not soft power. This is the most important power. Humanity, a very deep connection, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, wellness. These are the superpowers of the future. If the globe has to survive, if this planet has to survive, if this planet has to thrive, then we have to bring this into whatever we do. So tomorrow, what I see is 20 years down the line, security will not be just based on what weapons I have. Will also be based on how peaceful we are. If I am peaceful, I give out that aura, I give away that aura of peace everywhere. Okay? I feel so self-confident. The whole society will be a very confident society. The whole society will be a structured society. And the whole society will not think of destroying anyone. There will be dialogues for the first time. There will be communication. And what I see is, through the Eastern civilization, okay, through the learnings, through the teachings of the ancient saints, there will be communication, dialogue, and understanding for the first time. Because what do you bring to your meeting rooms? Okay? When you bring that insecurity, when you bring in that threat, when you bring in that challenge into your meeting room, your dialogue is completely devastated. It is destroyed. But when you bring that sense of peace, when you bring that wonderful aura, when you bring that connect, that deep spiritual connect, your sense of peace, your sense of security will be very different. You will not be afraid of anyone, and you will not try to intimidate anyone. The one who is afraid starts intimidating everyone else. The one who feels secure, who is not afraid, who is fearless, will never be interested in bringing in that fear in someone else. So I see a very different society coming up now. Okay? This is where we need to contribute. This is what we need to learn. This is what we need to educate us and educate the whole humanity into now.
Nepal very recently led the UNGA resolution to adopt the International Wellness Day coming April 15. I could see you were one among the central figures putting this forward, right?
I've always been so convinced that Nepal is not a lost nation. It cannot be a failed state. We must have something very deep and something very impactful and powerful to give to the humanity. Look at everything we have. Everything is divine. Everything is pristine. Everything is sacred. Everything is holy. This is what the whole world needs. And this word wellness encompasses everything that we have. The whole tradition, okay? The whole spiritual tradition that has run into tens of thousands of years, you know, the whole spiritual legacy. Last December 2025, the whole world was celebrating International Meditation Day, and we were there in the UN headquarters in Newark, USA. We made a presentation representing Nepal. Then we talked to many people there. We talked to the ambassadors, the permanent representatives there. We talked to the diplomats. We talked to scientific communities. And everyone was so curious about what Nepal can bring into the plate now. Because the people told me, see, Nepal, we have heard, has a very, very rich spiritual tradition. And where are you now? What are you going to bring in? Then we came up with the concept of International Wellness Day there. We made a firm resolution in our mind that we will request the government, we will lobby with the government, okay, to go in for the International Wellness Day. And that's where the concept started. Immediately after I came back from US, the very next day, I sent a proposal to the government, to the foreign ministry. And these beautiful people, you know, these intelligent people, they understood the concept, whole concept. And they went ahead, and in less than a couple of months, we had the International Wellness Day. And Nepal is the sole proposer, you know. They not only led the proposal, it is the sole proposer of the International Wellness Day. And 142 countries endorsed this. 40 countries are the co-sponsors, including China and India. Because this belongs to the whole of East now, you know, this belongs to the whole of East. And I'm so happy that after the UN General Assembly adopted this resolution, the new government has come up with very clear policies and plans to execute this. April 15 is going to be celebrated as International Wellness Day. This is not just another day. You know, this is what human beings, the whole humanity has been waiting for.
So as you said, this certainly it was a milestone, but let us look at the corridors of power where you work, Gurudev. We often hear that power corrupts, but Eastern tradition gives us the Raj Rishi, meaning the leader who rules with the heart of a sage. Is it just a mythological ideal?
There are two types of rulers. The first type of ruler is one who does not have a heart, but knows everything outside, rules the world, rules the country, not based on love, not based on understanding, not based on, you know, that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, not based on a deep philosophy. The power is there. Maybe the people voted, you know, the mass power is there, the legal process is there. You may be, you know, a very, very good ruler from the outside, but if you do not have that heart, if you do not truly love your country, your people, and the humanity at large, what will you do? Slowly the power, you know, slowly the power starts corrupting you. Unconsciously, the power starts corrupting you, and it corrupts you absolutely. This is what they say, right? Now, but our methodology has been very, very different, okay? I think we have come up with a wonderful term that has been lost for generations now, Raja Rishi. Raja Rishi means a king or a leader who is also a Rishi or a sage or a saint inside, that very big heart, okay? Now, if you talk of, you know, great people in the politics, maybe also in international relations, okay? You talk of Mahatma Gandhi, talk of Abraham Lincoln, you talk of Nelson Mandela, okay? When you talk of Gautam Buddha, what are you talking about? They had the power, but they never misused the power. In fact, the power made them more responsible. This is what Rajarsi is, and this is what the Eastern tradition, the Eastern philosophy, I'm not just saying tradition, not just saying philosophy, the Eastern civilization brings into the whole world. And this Rajarsi is going to be the new form of leadership. In fact, if you look at the development of political leadership, now they say that political leadership has to be servant leadership. Okay? Servant leadership is the new buzzword for political leadership. A leader is not a ruler, but a servant of the people. And servant it's not just a literal term, a real servant of the people. And Rajarsi says, you lead through your intelligence, okay, but you take care of your people through your heart. In fact, all the kings that our scriptures talk about, all the kings, the popular kings, they have been Rajarsis. And philosophically, politically, and diplomatically, this is what we can bring to the whole international community.
Right. I can see you engaging at various tiers of leadership, engaging with them in training sessions, and I've seen you at top tiers at all levels. When you just feed my curious mind, when you sit with them, do you see that spark or that capacity in them to become this rishis or the modern day servants that you just said? Do you see a spark of it? Or is it the vivad or the state, like the loud of the state, too loud for them to, hear the vigyan of their own conscience?
You posed a very difficult question to me, Shivani, but I think I must answer this question. After meeting, after talking to a number of people, someday, my heart, starts blossoming, I become so cheerful, so happy. Yes, I got someone here. I got someone who can understand this message, who can execute and carry forward this message. Yes, there are people here. There are people, okay? In different generations, in different age groups, there are people. But the society up till now has been structured in such a way that good people cannot come to the front. Right? So now slowly we have to find out the right people. They are there, and they are there in good numbers. For example, if you want to run a company, you hire the best people, right? You hire the best people. You try to find out who is the best person around. So when you want to run a country, or when you want to run the world, don't you try to find out who is the best person? I've always been a die-hard optimist, okay? But slowly when I started working with these young people also, this new team, I am hopeful, I am optimistic that these people will learn. There are so many things that we need to learn, because for over 2 centuries, we have been challenged, we have been threatened, okay? And deep in the psyche, in our collective consciousness, somehow we have developed that inferiority complex. Okay, that is there. But meditation and the whole the science of wellness slowly remedies your inferiority complex. It makes you a wonderful human being who can do something very good. And I think if we continue this process, we will be able to develop world-class leaders.
Very needed and an important intervention as well, because they say, state is just a collection of minds, and we really do not want minds that create cluttered and, laws that are pretty chaotic, right? So we are living in a time of polycrisis. There are crises of climate, then there are political instability, conflicts of all sorts. Let's try and be a little blunt here, because philosophy certainly doesn't stop any war or conflict, right? What is the tangible value here?
Oh yeah. Last time when I spoke in the United Nations, I put forward a statement there. The modern wars are not fought in the borders, they are fought in human minds. Understand that mind is the central thing, okay? And your mind is run by philosophies, not by anything that happens outside. So if you can change your mind, you change everything. It's all about changing the mind. It's all about bringing in a new mind. It's not the question of, a new philosophy can change, working together to change the paradigm. So it's not the question of only philosophy, For example, the way you talk to me, I can see that you are guided by some philosophies. You are making a dialogue here, and you are not in the killing room. Why? Because you have a philosophy there, right? You have an understanding there. Similarly, this new understanding has to be brought in. It's not that it's not there. It's there. Even look at the people, look at the people who are completely, victimized by war. Look at their faces. Don't you see hope there? I see so much of hope for the humanity. I see so much of hope for the humanity. And the hope that I'm talking about is not just a fantasy. It's not an imagination. This hope can be made real. And if we can, train people in meditation, even 5 minutes of meditation, Shivani, it changes your perspective for good. Even 5 minutes of meditation. Now science tells you very clearly that, all forms of violence come from your stress. A stressed mind becomes a violent mind. Okay? And meditation is the antidote to stress. Okay? When you meditate even for 5 minutes, you have a very different perspective. Instead of destroying, you want to create something. Your destructive energy becomes a creative energy. And remember, don't look at the weapons, don't look at the fighter jets around. Look at the people who are behind them. And if these people can be exposed to this methodology of learning, we can see a better world. And we have to do it. Just take another example. When do you need light the most? You need light the most. Okay, you want light all around when it is dark, right? So when the whole world is into wars, okay, into a number of problems, into polycrisis that you talked about, okay, don't you think someone has to switch on the light? That switch is inside you. I see a great hope for humanity. I see a great hope. We learn through number of mistakes. Yes, we're making a number of mistakes, but people like us, people like you, who have understood spirituality, who have tested this Eastern tradition, now must work hard. I must own something, and then what I must tell to myself is, if I don't work hard, another person will die tomorrow. Another person will be the victim of another war. Another country will be the victim of another war. So for us, it is an emergency. It's a peace emergency, not a war emergency now. We're spreading peace, we're spreading wellness. It's a peace emergency now.
You need to find the switch, and you need to tame the mind. And meditation could be one tool. I really reap that. But then there is a huge struggle the mankind is having to face or reel under at this moment. So if you could shed light on the how question now, like how does the Eastern concept of samayama, equanimity, right, survive in this era of 24/7, algorithm outreach?
If you look at yourself, it is your mind who is doing all this. Your mind is at the core. And what is samyama? Samyama means equanimity. It's not equality outside. It is equanimity inside. And when do you develop equanimity? You develop equanimity when you become meditative. Right? And then forget these wars. Just look at relationship in your family. The one who has some form of equanimity will be able to connect the whole family. Look at your organization. who connects the organization, who builds the organization, people who have equanimity. Look at the nation. Okay, the ups and downs will always be there. The upheavals will always be there. The vicissitudes will always be there. But equanimity, rightly propounded by Shiva, Krishna, Buddha, Ram, okay, and all sages, and that's what we are working into. This is going to be the technology of the future. The leaders have to develop equanimity, and equanimity does not mean that I'm indifferent to whatever is happening. Equanimity means, okay, inside I'm affected, I remain unaffected, so I'll be able to take the right decision. I'm not overwhelmed. I cannot be pressurized. I'm not volatile. Okay? I'm not susceptible to everything that happens outside. I have my own mind. I maintain my freedom. I maintain my intelligence to decide what is right for everyone.
It's a great power.
This is equanimity.
And how do we develop that?
Naturally, you know, you see so many things happening, and slowly you start developing equanimity, right? But the Eastern tradition has brought in spirituality. This whole training of spirituality is all about developing equanimity inside yourself. And Bhagavad Gita says equanimity is the highest form of yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate. There are methods, there are scientific tools to practice. Okay? There are very, very different schools, philosophies to practice this. And I'm so happy that Nepal, although this is a small country in terms of, you know, the geography, but it brings in almost all the spiritual tradition in its landscape. It's a large canvas, you know. I'm not saying Nepal alone. The whole Eastern tradition, the whole Eastern philosophy, they are there. Now, you know, they have to find an inroad into education system. They have to find an inroad into your practice, into your homes, into your offices, into, you know, the secretary's offices, into president's buildings. Okay, if you want to develop a better world, we want a better world, right? If you want a better world, we must choose something that's very good. We must choose something that is better than everything else, right? And spirituality comes in handy here. It is there. It is there. We can never close our eyes to spirituality any longer. We cannot dare to do so, because you may not have time even to open your eyes after that. Okay? You may be non-existent the another moment if you close your eyes to the simple truths of life. They are there. We are human beings, and humanity is a very, 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 very powerful thing. And spirituality is part of the humanity. And this is what we bring in.
Some would say this philosophy is too soft, you know, for the very hard world of geopolitics, right? What would you say to those skeptics? How would you respond to these skeptics who say we need, you know, more bullets and less breathing exercises?
Even these skeptics, they come to us and tell, and they tell us, I need meditation. I need meditation. See, a restless mind is never a happy mind. Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants to be contented, right? So where do you bring in that happiness? Nothing else can bring happiness to you. This is the only science that can bring you happiness. So this is not just the soft power. This is the most important power of the future. And if you ignore this power, if you think that a bullet is the only reply to another bullet, you know, within no time, you will see that everything is over. We have to look at the whole humanity now. We have to go back to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam again. We have to go back to our education again. We have to go back to our roots again. Okay? And this is only what will keep you alive.
Nepal sits between two huge global giants, like powerhouses. Now, we've talked this off air as well. How can we, Nepal, like as you portrayed, use this very philosophical heritage as a genuine power tool?
I'm not positioning just Nepal. Okay? Nepal is one of the players, because Nepal is the source of all this, but not the only source, it's one of the sources. What we see is, and what I see is, countries like India, China, and many other, countries who belong to this part of the world, we share a common lineage. Okay, we share a common ancestry in terms of this knowledge. So all of us have to work in cohesion now. All our the different organizations like SARC, okay, and even larger organizations like BIMSTEC and other organizations have to learn this and have to bring in this one thing. Why did we develop this organization known as SARC in the beginning? Okay, this is not just an association of a few countries. This has to be the association of a type of philosophy. Okay, this is the philosophy that will give a new lease of life to the whole world. And why are we trying to collaborate? What are we collaborating in? For example, if I want to work together with India, together with China, what would that be? This I see as the number one agenda for the future. Okay, this is for international collaboration, and this is for small geographical collaboration also. This is for international collaboration, and our our diplomats, our government, our diplomats must have this soft power before they start engaging with the diplomats all around, because they need to know what and who we are. Okay, we represent the Eastern philosophy. We represent this culture, we represent this civilization, and this has to be there. This has to get now. This has to get out of its cave, This has to get out of its four walls. And through all diplomatic actions, all political dialogues, even in what I see is, I see this at play in economics also. Because people want to learn this. And people want to learn this. This is number one tourism for us. Okay, this country can be the hub of spirituality and wellness. In fact, about a couple of years back, after we conducted or completed our Virat Chakra Vigyan, that's the Mega Chakra Vigyan in Lumbini, all the political parties, head of political parties, head of government, we sat together and we came up with a 5-point resolution. One of them was to develop Nepal as the spiritual hub. The efforts have already started. Okay, we can see so many things happening all around. Now we must reposition ourselves. Okay, we must brand ourselves. We must come together now. The better forces, the good forces have to come together, not just the evil forces. This is what I see.
Right, and as we move towards concluding this conversation, Gurudev, on a very deeply personal level, beyond all the books, your practices, the UN resolutions, and even your sessions at the centers, how has practicing Jivan Vigyan or life science shaped your own worldview when you look at this chaos of 2026?
My upbringing, my whole upbringing has been like that of anyone else's. But slowly, I think I was 7 or 8 years of age. I was fallen sick. Okay? I had a fever, and then I was very weak and feeble then. I was trying to stand up, but something happened inside me. Okay? I passed out for some time, but then people, my family told me that I passed out for some time, but inside something happened, something surfaced inside. Okay, I could sense that. I had that awareness of whatever was happening inside me, and I immediately found out that no, the whole world that is outside is not the only world. There's a better world that is awaiting to be opened up, that is awaiting to be unveiled. And slowly, I didn't understand what, it was like an epiphany, I didn't understand what that was. But slowly, when I started reading so many books, I found out that what happened to me was meditation. Okay, and then I started developing practices for myself to begin with, because I wanted to get back there. It happened accidentally. There was no system. But in another maybe about 15 years of time, I had developed methods and systems to go back. And what I found is this is so simple. And our sages have been practicing this for a long time now, for thousands of years now. Now, why don't I share this with other people? And I started sharing very genuinely, I never wanted to be a teacher of spirituality. Today also, I don't think I'm a teacher of spirituality. I just share, whatever I deeply experience. And then what I found out is it helps everyone. It's a very simple tool, very simple practice. Okay, you don't need a belief system. You don't need to be a Hindu, or you don't need to convert yourself into a Buddhist. You don't need to change anything. Okay, you don't need to change your religion. You don't need to change your identity, your nationality. Nothing. Okay, even haves and have-nots. They are not the criteria. It is there in every human being. So once I found, we started sharing. Today we are sharing. Jivan began. Established in Nepal. We started our operations from Nepal. We're spread out in over 100 countries now. But we authentically and genuinely share what we experience. Okay? There's the culture of sharing, and I think our tradition has understood, the Eastern tradition has understood the value of sharing.
Thank you, Gurudev. You only inspire me to look forward to another conversation with you, to understand and know your journey, and then the elements of science that people so value across the world. Thank you so much for coming over and help us unwrap the secrets behind the chaos and maybe the journey towards the much aspired peace. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. To me also, the type of dialogue you brought in terms of what we can do in terms of geopolitics, okay, in terms of the whole planet coming together. I think this interview this has happened for the first time to me. I must thank you for that, and I must thank Geopod and NTV World for having me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's one strong pillar that NTV World stands on. So thank you one more time. As we head forward towards wrapping up this edition, power, as you could perceive, continues to shape the global order. But perhaps the deeper question is whether wisdom can reshape power. This conversation certainly compels us to contemplate that science of life isn't found in a textbook. It's found in the space between your thoughts. That's it from Geopod this week. I'm Shivani Thapa Bosnia. Let's bring the life back into our science. Namaste.
These hills and valleys are witnesses to change. They hold countless dreams and the aspirations of a prosperous nation.
beneath their natural beauty lies a deeper reality, a true portrait of life. Here, the geography is visible, but the emotions are heard. Our effort is to bring closer the landscape and sentiments of Rukum West, a region filled with dreams, possibilities and determination. Since the Mid-Hill Highway connected Rukum, it has played a vital role in local development. It has helped market local produce, boosted livelihoods and employment, and promoted the region's stunning nature, languages, arts and culture. Many older residents never imagined a road passing near their homes or ever riding in a vehicle. Now, as cars glide smoothly over these hills and ridges, their joy is unmistakable. As we pass through the villages of Rukum, we encounter countless stories of hope and trust. Signs of development are increasingly visible at the local level. Vehicles now travel on blacktop roads, and improved access to technology has made rural life more dynamic. Whether it is Sankha in Musikot municipality or Rimna Dobhan in Sani Bheri rural municipality, these communities not only reflect the natural beauty of Rukum West, but also narrate inspiring stories of transformation. Rukum is a district shaped by a decade-long armed conflict. During those years, it stood at the center of national attention. Yet after the peace process, its development trajectory has steadily risen. Improvements in roads, political awareness, education and healthcare have all played a crucial role in this progress. In the remote terrains, the natural beauty is inseparable from the faces of the people who live here. Expressions of longing, eyes searching for their children, and the countless struggles behind their simple dreams all resonate deeply. Despite stories of positive change, the migration of many young people abroad remains a pressing concern. A district rich in nature and culture, now faces the challenge of a shrinking youth population, which limits its potential for prosperity. Traveling this road, crossing rivers, climbing hills, and enjoying the northern Himalayan views is a unique experience. From the lowlands of Jaurjahari, along the banks of Bheri River, through Ramni Dobhan to the district headquarters in Khalanga, and onward through the scenic settlement of Sankha into eastern Rukum, the journey is breathtaking. Yet, this land is still searching for its youth so that its beauty can be tied to prosperity. Here in this rugged terrain, the reality is visible and the emotions you hear are true.
Good evening and welcome to Business World. I am Siksha Bhatrai. This week, global markets were shaped by rising geopolitical tensions, shifting trade alliances, the growing race for artificial intelligence dominance, and fresh concerns over inflation and energy prices. From Washington and Beijing to Brussels, Seoul, and New Delhi, governments and major corporations faced mounting pressure over trade, technology, and the global economy. Let's begin with one of the week's biggest developments in international trade relations. China and the United States signaled a possible easing of trade tensions this week after both the sides agreed to expand agricultural trade and reduce some tariffs following high-level talks in Beijing. The development is being closely watched by global markets as businesses hope for improved stability in supply chains and international commerce. The agreements remain preliminary, but officials from both the countries say negotiations will continue in the coming weeks.
China and the United States have agreed to expand agricultural trade through tariff reductions and tackle non-tariff barriers and market access issues, China's Commerce Ministry said on Saturday after this week's summit in Beijing. The agreements are preliminary and will be finalized as soon as possible, the ministry said following U.S. President Donald Trump's visit. China's farm imports from the U.S. still face an additional 10% levy after last year's rounds of tit-for tariffs sharply curtailed trade, which fell 65.7% year-on-year to US $8.4 billion in 2025, according to US Department of Agriculture data. The Commerce Ministry said both sides aim to promote two-way trade, including in agricultural products, through measures such as reciprocal tariff reductions across a range of goods. It did not specify which products.
From global trade, we now turn to Europe, where rising tensions in the Middle East are beginning to affect food prices and farming costs. The European Union has pledged support for farmers facing soaring fertilizer prices linked to instability in the region. Officials warn that prolonged disruptions in energy and fertilizer markets could have wider consequences for inflation and global food security.
The European Union has pledged support for farmers and efforts to safeguard food security as it moves to address rising fertilizer costs linked to the ongoing Iran war. EU Agriculture Commissioner Christoph Hansen said the bloc would step in to help farmers cope with the economic pressure caused by surging input prices, which have been driven higher than instability in the Middle East.
And first, we will support farmers and food security in the short term. We will provide immediate relief, much needed, when the bills start coming in for the farmers. And the Commission will deliver a substantial financial support package to affected farmers before summer, and this is our commitment, and we will present it in June with the amending budget.
Brussels has faced growing calls from member states and agricultural groups to intervene as fertilizer price spikes threaten to push up overall food costs across Europe.
In Asia, concerns over disruptions in the global semiconductor industry eased after Samsung Electronics reached a last-minute agreement with its largest labor union. The deal prevented a plant strike that could have affected chip production at the world's biggest memory chip maker. The dispute centered on wages and bonuses as workers demanded a larger share of profits driven by booming demand for artificial intelligence chips.
The largest labor union at Samsung Electronics has called off a planned strike after reaching a last-minute agreement with the company management over wages and bonuses. The deal has eased concerns over possible disruption to the global semiconductor supply chain. The strike, set to begin on Thursday, could have affected chip production at Samsung, the world's biggest memory chip maker. The union, representing nearly 48,000 workers, has suspended the action while members vote on the agreement between May 22 and 27. The dispute entered on how profits from rising demand for artificial intelligence chips should be shared. Workers argued that employees producing lower-end chips for firms such as Tesla and Nvidia also deserve higher bonuses. Under the tentative deal, Samsung will introduce a new performance-linked bonus system. Employees will also receive additional rewards in company stock, which cannot be sold for several years. Talks had nearly collapsed earlier this week before South Korea's labor minister intervened to help broker the agreement.
Now to the United States, where attention is turning to the future direction of the world's largest economy. A new leadership transition at the U.S. Federal Reserve is expected to shape monetary policy, interest rates, and global financial markets in the months ahead. Analysts say investors will closely watch how the incoming leadership handles inflation and economic growth amid ongoing global uncertainty.
After 8 years of friction with the White House, a global pandemic, and a fight with the high inflation, the U.S. Federal Reserve begins a new era with former Governor Kevin Warsh soon to be sworn in as chair. It will be a new era for President Donald Trump as well. He soon will no longer have departing Fed Chair Jerome Powell as his favorite punching bag, although Powell will remain a Fed governor and will continue as central bank leader on a temporary basis until Walsh is sworn in. Walsh, Trump's pick for Fed chair, presumably brings a fresh start in relations between the Oval Office and the central bank. He is expected to explore various regulatory and policy changes to shrink the large balance sheet. That could lead to a protracted discussion with limited progress in the short run.
Meanwhile, Indian billionaire Gautam Adani scored a major legal victory this week after US authorities dropped criminal fraud charges against him and some officials linked to the business empire. The move is expected to improve investor confidence surrounding the Adani Group's international operations. The developments also highlights changing approaches within the United States towards corporate investigations involving foreign businesses.
The U.S. Department of Justice has dropped criminal fraud charges against Indian billionaire Gautam Adani and some officials of his firm, days after he agreed to settle a separate civil case. Adani Enterprises, his group's flagship firm, also agreed to pay $275 million to the U.S. Treasury to settle a separate investigation into alleged violations of sanctions on Iran. According to media sources, the Adani Group has now resolved all 3 legal cases against it in the U.S. This will pave the way for Adani to travel to the U.S. without risk of legal proceedings. Media reports say the dropped charges reflect a broader move away from prosecuting foreign bribery cases under Donald Trump's administration. Adani, 63, is one of the world's richest people, worth $82 billion according to Forbes. His Adani Group is one of India's largest business conglomerates with interest in sectors including energy, ports and airports.
And staying with major global business deals, aerospace giant Boeing confirmed that China has committed to purchasing 200 aircraft following recent talks between Washington and Beijing. The agreement marks a significant reopening of the Chinese market for Boeing aircraft orders. Industry analysts say the deal could provide a major boost to the aviation sector and strengthen broader economic ties between the two countries.
Aerospace giant Boeing confirmed that China had committed to purchasing 200 aircrafts following announcements made by the U.S. President Donald Trump during his visit to Beijing earlier this week. The company said the agreement marked the reopening of the Chinese market to Boeing aircraft orders and described the trip as successful. Speaking aboard Air Force One on his return to Washington, Trump said China had also promised up to 750 aircrafts in total if the initial 200-plane arrangement proceeds successfully. Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg, who was part of the U.S. delegation to China, added that the 200-plane commitment was an initial step and said further commitments were expected in the future.
In the technology sector, competition in the growing wearable devices market intensified this week after Google unveiled its latest smart glasses design. The move places the company in direct competition with Meta as tech giants race to integrate artificial intelligence into everyday consumer products. Analysts say AI-powered wearable technology could become one of the next major battlegrounds in the global tech industry.
Google has unveiled the design of its new smart glasses, marking its return to a market it previously attempted to enter more than a decade ago without success. The device is expected to go on sale later this year and positions Google in direct competition with Meta, which currently leads the segment with its Ray-Ban smart glasses. Meta's smart eyewear has reportedly sold more than 7 million units, giving the company a strong early advantage in the growing wearable technology market. The new product reflects renewed competition among major tech firms to develop everyday augmented reality and AI-powered wearable devices. Analysts say the launch signals an intensifying race to integrate artificial intelligence into consumer hardware beyond smartphones.
In another sign of shifting global economic partnerships, Sweden and India announced a new strategic cooperation initiative aimed at boosting trade, investment and technology collaboration. The agreement focuses on sectors including clean energy, innovation and industrial development. Officials say the partnership reflects growing efforts to strengthen economic resilience amid global uncertainty.
Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson has announced a strategic partnership with India following his meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Gothenburg. aimed at significantly deepening bilateral economic and investment ties. The initiative is also seen in the context of India's broader engagement with Europe, including the free trade agreement signed with the European Union in January. Under the agreement, both countries have committed to doubling trade and investment flows over the next 5 years, with a focus on innovation, clean energy, technology, and industrial cooperation. The agreement also gains added significance amid rising global uncertainty, triggered by the ongoing Middle East conflict, which has heightened concerns over energy security and disrupted trade routes.
Elsewhere in South Asia, India raised fuel prices this week as the ongoing Iran conflict continued to disrupt global energy supplies. The increase has added pressure on consumers and businesses already dealing with higher living costs and inflation concerns.
India's state-run oil companies has raised petrol and diesel prices by more than 3% as the Iran war continues to disrupt global energy supplies and increase pressure on the country's economy. The hike, the first since the conflict began in February, comes amid concerns over rising import costs after Iran's near-total blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, a route through which India normally imports nearly half of its crude oil. Oil companies said they have been suffering losses due to soaring global crude prices, while the government has also raised cooking gas prices and introduced austerity measures aimed at reducing fuel consumption and conserving foreign exchange reserves. Authorities in Delhi announced partial work-from-home measures for government employees and urged residents to limit private vehicle use as fuel import costs continue to strain public finances. Meanwhile, India has increased imports of discounted Russian crude following a temporary U.S. sanctions waiver, but Indian Foreign Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar criticized unilateral sanctions, warning they disproportionately impact developing economies.
And here in Nepal, concerns over the wider impact of the global energy crisis were also highlighted at the United Nations. Officials warned that rising fuel costs and disruptions in trade routes could slow economic growth and push millions more people into poverty worldwide.
The United Nations has warned that disruptions to global energy and supply chains are threatening economic recovery and pushing millions deeper into poverty, with developing countries facing the greatest risk. At a special meeting of the United Nations Economic and Social Council, or ECOSOC, held at UN headquarters in New York on Thursday, ECOSOC President and Nepal's permanent representative to the United Nations, Lok Bahadur Thapa, said more than 32 million additional people worldwide could fall into poverty due to rising energy prices, increasing food costs, and weakening economic growth.
This is not only an energy challenge. It is a development challenge. It is a financing challenge. And above all, it is a test of our collective ability to deliver on the promise of the 2030 Agenda.
The meeting, titled Safeguarding Energy and Supply Flows, Supporting Global Development Through International Cooperation, focused on the growing impact of instability in global trade and energy corridors. Officials said the disruptions have slowed economic growth, increased inflation, and undermined progress toward the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. Speaking on behalf of UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, Under-Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs Lee Junhua called for energy and commodity markets to remain open, transparent, and predictable, warning that further supply disruptions could worsen the global crisis. It is said global GDP growth and trade are expected to contract while inflation has increased, potentially reversing long-term trends of lower prices. Amid such backdrop, the discussion carried particular significance for countries like Nepal, which remains classified as a least developed country, or LDC. Although it is scheduled to graduate from LDC status in November of 2026. Nepal and other vulnerable economies remain highly exposed to external shocks, including rising fuel prices, supply shortages, and slowing global trade due to their dependence on imports and limited fiscal capacity. The ECOSOC meeting brought together UN member states, international financial institutions, civil society representatives, and the private sector to discuss ways to ease fiscal pressure, strengthen economic resilience, and reduce the impact of global spillover effects on developing countries.
And finally, a move that is expected to benefit tourism and travel. The European Union has introduced a new visa scheme allowing eligible Thai travelers to receive longer validity Schengen visas. Officials say the measure will simplify travel procedures and strengthen people-to-people ties between Thailand and Europe.
Thai nationals applying for short-stay Schengen visas in Thailand were granted access to longer validity multiple entry visas under the EU's Visa Cascade scheme, according to Thailand's Foreign Ministry. The decision was approved by the European Commission on May 8 for eligible Thai passport holders. Under the scheme, travelers with a record of lawful use of previous visas became eligible for progressively longer validity periods, including 1 year, 2-year and up to 5-year multiple entry visas. Officials said the system reduced repeated applications, costs and administrative delays. The ministry clarified that the policy was not a visa waiver and that applicants still needed to apply through standard procedures. Thailand stated that the move reflected strong EU confidence and was based on low migration and security risk assessments.
Around the world, markets are reacting to fast-moving shifts in trade, ongoing energy pressures, and the growing influence of artificial intelligence on industry and jobs. And while AI is driving innovation and efficiency, it is also quietly reshaping industries and raising concerns about the future of employment, even within large manufacturing and technology ecosystems like the Samsung. As economies adapt to this new reality, the balance between progress and disruption will remain one of the key stories to watch in the weeks ahead. I am Siksha Bhatrai. Have a wonderful evening and thank you for watching Business World.
Votekosi and Trisuli river rafting. Rafting has lately been gaining popularity among tourists. The adventure sport, which previously was popular only among foreigners, is now drawing the local tourists as well. Trisuli and Votekosi rivers that are close to Kathmandu are two popular destinations for rafting in Bagmati province. Let us first explore Votekosi. Whitewater rafting at Votekosi river is included among the 10 best adventure destinations for rafting in the world. Votekosi, which is well facilitated with food and accommodation, can be a great destination for rafting and other adventure sports. Rafting at Trisuli river is popular among domestic tourists, as the location can be reached in an hour from Kathmandu. This is where most tourists go for rafting in Nepal. Rafting packages of Votekosi and Trisuli are appropriate for those who want to spend some good time for a few days.
Welcome to the new episode of The Hinterlands on NTV World. This weekly show brings together stories from the hinterlands of Nepal, takes you beyond the cities and highways into the heart of Nepal's rural landscapes. I am Rosina Rai and we will be leading you into this journey every week. We begin in Bajura district, home to the stunning Badi Malika temple, increasingly known as the Switzerland of Nepal. Situated at an altitude of nearly 4,200 meters, Badi Malika is renowned for its vast green meadows, vibrant alpine flowers, and breathtaking views of the Api and the Saipal Himalayan ranges. The number of tourists and pilgrims visiting the famous religious destination has nearly doubled in recent times, with locals attributing the rise to increased publicity and improved exposure of the region. Diksha Awasthi brings us this report.
4,200 meters above sea level, Badi Malika in Bajura has recently emerged as one of far western Nepal's major religious and tourism destinations. The area gained wider attention after Prime Minister Balendra Shah compared Badi Malika to Switzerland during a public address. Since then, local guides and residents report a significant rise in visitor numbers. Local guide Norbadur Raul says that where only a few travelers once visited, hundreds of pilgrims and tourists are now arriving almost every day. Badi Malika is known for its natural beauty, spiritual significance, and rich mythology. Major attractions include the scenic Triveni area, the 22 patans, colorful alpine flower fields, Vishnupani and Dharmadwar. Local legends linked to farming areas and religious history continue to attract visitors. The region is also home to rare wildlife such as the Himalayan monal, musk deer and daffy. Tourists are especially drawn to the breathtaking Himalayan views from the top of Badi Malika. On clear days, peaks such as Api and Saipal are clearly visible. Despite growing popularity, the region still lacks basic infrastructure. Poor trekking routes, limited drinking water, lack of toilets and shelters, and missing signboards continue to make travel difficult. Safety concerns also remain, with 2 deaths reported last year during the return journey from the pilgrimage route. Locals are urging the government to improve infrastructure and ensure safer travel.
Now to central Nepal, where an electric ropeway built over the Trisuli River, linking villages of Gorkha district and Dhading to the Prithvi Highway, has remained defunct for years. Its closure has made daily life increasingly difficult for local residents, affecting transportation and access to markets. Farmers are now compelled to manually carry vegetables and other agricultural products for hours, a task that once took less time through the operation of ropeway.
What happens when a journey that once took just 5 minutes suddenly takes nearly 3 hours? Unfortunately, this is the current reality of the locals of Gandaki rural municipalities, Hiklung, Thumka and Riplang villages that lie along the Gorkha-Dhading's border. A 620-meter-long electric ropeway was built over the local Trishuli River, which was built specifically to help the farmers in the region to supply their products. However, as the electric ropeway went out of operation within few days of its commencement, locals are once again forced to carry vegetables and daily essentials on their backs across steep trails. This has left locals disappointed, as ropeways serve as an important means of transporting goods and connecting remote communities to major highways and markets in Nepal, where roads and bridges are often limited owing to its mountainous terrain.
अहिलेको राम्रो थियो अब भर्खर सुरुमा अब के भयो त्यो दबाउने थिच्ने कुरा के बिग्रेछ हो अब त्यो अब मिस्त्रीहरु आइपुग्नु भएको छैन आइदा हेर विचार गर्दिनु भएको छैन अब राम्रै खरा त पार्नु पाएको छैन के अनि यस्तो यो ठामको यस्तो उसमा यस्तोमा त स्वतः जाने रहेछ नि त अहिलेको त त्यो लुत्किने भन्ने डर रहेछ नि त अहिलेको त फेरि एकदम गाह्रो नि
The electric ropeway was constructed after the old gravity ropeway connecting the villages to the Prithvi highway became dilapidated and unusable. But the ropeway remains shut since the past 5 years, leaving farmers struggling to transport agricultural produce to the market. With the ropeway out of service, locals say their woes have been added as the local roads connecting to the major roads and highways are also in dilapidated condition.
ओरालो बोकेर झार्नु पर्छ घुराहरूलाई फकाइ फकाइ ल्याउनै बोक्नु पर्यो भन्दै ल्याउनु पर्यो यहाँ भए त तार्नलाई सजिलो हुन्थ्यो खै सजिलो भएको छैन हामीलाई बोक्नै परेछ
Farmers lament that the transportation difficulties are affecting their income and daily lives as well, while demanding the restoration of the electric bridges operation.
The government of Nepal spends billions every year on education. Yet the condition of community schools across the country continues to raise serious concerns. The recently published SEE 2082 results by the National Examination Board have brought hope in some areas while exposing alarming realities in others. Several community schools across the country recorded completely nil results, once again raising questions about the quality of public education in Nepal.
A huge gap can be seen between urban and remote areas in Nepal's latest secondary education examination or SEE results, especially in the community schools. While the pass rate is accessible and resource-rich areas like Kathmandu metropolitan city reached 76.75%, several community schools across the country recorded completely nil results, with not a single student passing the examinations. The SEE is the national examination taken by grade 10 students and is widely regarded as a gateway to higher secondary education. But the 2026 SEE results have once again reflected the fragile state of Nepal's public education system. Every year, the government allocates one of the largest portions of the national budget to education. In the current fiscal year alone, billions of rupees was allocated to the education sector. Despite this massive investment, the returns remain disappointing. Out of the 430,667 students who appeared in the examination this year, only 65.98% passed. In other words, nearly 34% of students were placed in the non-graded category. Locals say such a vast gap under the same curriculum and examination system raises serious questions about school management, teaching quality, and accountability.
शिक्षकहरूले विद्यार्थीहरूलाई यो खालको भाइब दिन नसक्नु भएर हो कि
लगभग 35% विद्यार्थी चाहिँ नि विद्यार्थी फेल भएको छ त्यो भनेको त राज्यको नोक्सानी हो
यो वास्तवमा सरकारी स्कुलको हकमा चाहिँ राज्यले लगानी चाहिँ धेरै गरेको छ तर यसको पछाडीको कारण चाहिँ के हो भन्दा मलाई लाग्छ भने यो शिक्षकहरू चाहिँ बढी राजनीति गर्नतिर लाग्ने
Some parents accuse teachers of being more involved in politics than academics, saying students are being neglected. Educationist Dr. Bidyanath Koirala says the poor results are linked to weak monitoring, lack of accountability, and declining focus on student learning outcomes.
यो केटाकेटीले साइन्समा पढेर पास गर्दैन भन्ने भए त्यसलाई साइन्स अनिवार्य किन गर्ने हो त्यसको सट्टा उसले चाहिँ नि जे पढे नि हुन्छ उसलाई पौडी खेल्न मन लाग्यो पौडी पढ्छ सुदूरपश्चिमको केटाकेटी हो भने सुदूरपश्चिमकै बारेमा पढ्छ कर्णालीको केटाकेटी कर्णालीकै पढ्छ मधेसको केटाकेटी मधेसकै बारेमा पढ्छ मधेसको बारेमा पढ्यो भने त पास हुन्छ
Meanwhile, the National Examination Board has shown its efficiency by publishing the SEE results within just 29 days after the examinations ended. However, experts say faster publication alone is not enough if the quality of education itself continues to decline.
The government of Nepal, meanwhile, has intensified its nationwide campaign to reclaim public land. As part of the initiative, the District Administration Office in Sangja has directed all 11 local levels in the district to identify and to document public property. However, residents who have been living for decades along the Siddhartha Highway and on government land are now facing uncertainty and possible relocation. This is the last report we have in the Hinterlands episode this week.
Government's campaign to bring government land and public property back under state control has spread fast across the country. Residents living illegally on government land and people residing along the Siddhartha Highway for decades are now facing relocation.
सिद्धार्थ राजमार्गको दायाँ 25 मिटर भित्र चाहिँ व्यवसाय गरिरहेका व्यवसायहरू जहिले पनि त्रासमा मात्रै रहिरहे न त यहाँ ढुक्कसँग चाहिँ व्यवसाय गर्न पाए न चाहिँ अब यो चाहिँ अब छैन के भनेर चाहिँ ढुक्क भएर बस्न पाए त्यो एकदम दोधारमा जस्तो भइरहेको अवस्था छ त्यसो भएको हुनाले सरकारले गर्ने नै हो भने यसलाई चाहिँ छिटोभन्दा छिटो यसको चाहिँ निकास दियोस्.
As authorities move forward with the identification and demarcation of government land within the highway corridor, public interest and concerns have grown significantly. District Administration Office in Sangzai stated the lack of accurate records of government-owned land in the district has long created challenges in protecting public property.
रोड को सेन्टर देखि 25 मिटर दायाँ बायाँ भने हुनाले त्यसले गर्दाखेरि धेरै घरटहराहरू चाहिँ जाने अवस्था छ. त्यो मापदण्ड विपरीतका घरटहराहरू जाने अवस्था छ. यो पुतली बजार नगरपालिकाको पुतली बजारको क्षेत्र बाहेक अरू सबैको मापदण्डमा पर्छ.
To address this issue, the administration has launched an intensive data collection campaign in coordination with all local bodies. Following the identification and documentation, authorities will begin removing illegal structures located within the highway areas. Preparations are underway to remove houses and temporary structures built within 25 meters on both sides of the highway. Residents living near the highway have demanded that the government clearly demarcated the land so that they would not have to live in the fear and uncertainty.
Beyond the cities and the headlines, real lives continue to unfold. Stories shaped by struggle, strengthened by resilience, and carried forward by hope. This is the Hinterlands, and we'll be back next week with more stories from the heart of Nepal. Do follow us on our website, nepaltelevision.com, social media handles, and YouTube channels. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye for now.
What if I told you a story of a place shrouded in mystery and steeped in stones? A place where warriors were born and raised, and their path through the mountains still remain to this day. Ajirkot Kota, the unbeaten kingdom.
हामी पाहुनाहरू आउनु हुँदाखेरि हामी यसरी स्वागत गर्छौं अनि अलि नाचगानहरू देखाउँछौं. गर्व लाग्छ जन्मिएछु साँच्चै स्वर्गमा म त नेपालकी छोरी भन्छन् गोर्खाली. नाचहरू जस्तो घाटु चुड्काहरू भन्ने चाहिँ विशेष गरी हुन्छ यहाँ.
those seeking a luxurious escape, there are stunning lodges that offer an indulgent retreat amidst the rugged beauty of this place. But for the true adventurers, this place has it all, from trekking through dense forest of Nagepokari trails to exploring ancient temples and learning the rich history of the region. So, what do you fancy? Are you the solo explorer, or do you prefer luxury within nature? Or perhaps you are the one who seeks to witness it all. Well, after all, life is a box of chocolates, and this place is filled with surprises. Welcome to the place where magic and reality intertwine, where the wonders of nature are both breathtaking and awe-inspiring. From the elevations of 300 meters to a towering 8,000 meters, this place will leave you mesmerized and in awe.
A reflection of biodiversity along with nature and culture. A view of the silver-like shining mountain range right before your eyes. A chronicle of the rituals and traditions of Kirati people from creation to civilization and the present day. A unique tourist trail in Nepal filled with natural beauty, the Mundum Trail. Mundum Trail is a uniquely identified trekking route in Nepal filled with natural beauty. The trail is an excellent tourist destination for trekkers who want to enjoy the culture and traditions of various ethnic groups while observing natural beauty. The Mundum Trail was identified as a new trekking route with the aim of promoting tourism in Khotang, Bhojpur, Sankhua Sabha and Solukhumbu regions of eastern Nepal. The specialty of the Mundum Trail is trekking while observing the tall mountain ranges, high hills and beautiful views of the flat plains of Tarai. Since it is connected to the culture of the Kirati people, this trail is named after the Mundum rites of Kirat Rais. Various structures reflecting the culture and traditions of the Kirat Rais built around the trail. Large grassy meadows and yaks and sheep herds raised by local herdsmen highlight the speciality of the trek. Dishes reflecting the identity of ethnic groups like Kirat Rai, Sherpa, Tamang and others, local organic food produced by herdsmen, various types of vegetation and precious herbs can be found during the Mundum trek. The trail is a total of 107 kilometers long. Both domestic and international visitors say the rivers originating from Mahabharat mountain range, forests covered in rhododendrons, rare and endangered wildlife and plants, and animal husbandry by hard-working farmers captivates their hearts. The Mundum Trail, where one can trek through the hills with the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, at its head, is a precious gift from nature. It's a trek where one can escape the heat of the Tarai, enjoy natural beauty, reveling in the sweet sounds of birds and connecting with endangered plants, making the experience all unique. As there is heavy snowfall in winter, the number of tourists trekking and playing in the snow along the Mundum Trail witnesses a surge every season. The Mundum Trail is connected to religion, culture, rituals and lifestyle of entire Kirat community. Mundum itself means the Kirat culture, rituals and the daily life of Kirati people or Kirat knowledge. And the concept of Mundum Trail is also about introducing the culture, lifestyle and history of the Kirati people to the world, familiarizing them with the community. The journey along the trail, which spreads through uphills and downhills, offers close-up views of more than 24 beautiful mountain ranges. That includes Nuptse, Everest, Lhotse, Makalu, Kanchenjunga and Kumbhakarna. They all delight every traveler. The Mundum trek starts from Dawa Bhanjang in Diktel, Sakaila Rural Municipality of Khotang, and Bhojpur Bazar in Bhojpur. Most tourists start their journey on this trail from Chakhewa Bhanjang in Temki Moying Rural Municipality, Bhojpur. The trek starting from Chakhewa Bhanjang is a gift of biodiversity, culture and nature. The trail is also a tourist area listed among the 100 must-visit destinations selected by the government of Nepal. Temke Dada is an excellent tourist destination near the starting point of the Mundum Trail. It lies on the border of Bhojpur and Khotang. It is located at an altitude of about 3,032 meters above sea level and is a flat plateau on top of a single hill. The history of Temke Dada is also linked to Kirati civilization. Temke Dada is a habitat for various species of trees like jamb, rhododendron and chimal, as well as endangered wildlife such as red panda, ghorol and thar. Various places in Koshi province can be clearly seen from Temke Dada. From here, one can have a panoramic view of dozens of mountain ranges, including the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, Makalu, Kanchenjunga and Gauri Shankar. Apart from that, from Temke Dada, one can watch the sunrise and sunset. And when the weather is clear, one can even see the cities of Sikkim, Darjeeling, Kalimpong, Siliguri in India and cities in Bhutan. The Kirati people perform special worship on full moons of Baisakh. In this area, precious herbs, locally called Chiraito, Majito, Thulo Okhete, Pakhanbed, Nagbeli, Ban Karela, Muse Karela and Satua are found in abundance. Another major attraction of Temke Dada is the rhododendron. During blooming season, the forest in this area becomes vibrant red with fully bloomed flowers. After a hike and exploration of Temke Hill, surrounded by beautiful nature, one reaches Dhotre Deorali in about 6 hours. During the journey to Dhotre, trekkers enjoy nature's embrace, marvel at various rock formations and relish the trek while connecting with the high hills. At Dhotre Deorali, there are arrangements for food and lodging for tourists. Leaving Dhotre and moving forward on the trek, various structures have been built targeting the culture and traditions of Kirati people to attract tourists. The Mundum Trail's construction began with a 35% investment from Koshi provincial government, 35% from Swiss government and 30% from the local government. Along this entire trail, rest stops, drinking water taps and stone platforms have been built for tourists. 15 ponds in the shape of a chindo, which is a traditional Rai vessel reflecting Kirat Rai culture, have also been constructed. This is a place where shamans have walked, a place of tantric power and an extremely scenic area. Mundum is the name of a Kirat scripture. The trail is named after this sacred name. This trail, which integrates various aspects of Kirati civilization, culture, history and life from Silichung to Mayung and then to Temke, and from Temke to Kualung and Tuachung, proceeds along the ridge of Mahabharat mountain range. Another special beauty of the Mundum Trail is Has Pokhari. Located at an altitude of 3,333 meters above sea level, Has Pokhari is a special destination that should not be missed during the trek. At the edge of Has Pokhari, a statue of Sumnima and Paruhang has been erected. According to Kirat Mundum, Sumnima and Paruhang are the creators of this universe. The gentle fragrance of various species of flowers blooming in the grassy meadows captivates every tourist visiting Khas Pokhari. The rhododendrons that bloom in season in the Khas Pokhari area make one feel like staying in the vicinity of the pond forever. During their journey to Khas Pokhari, travelers can observe at least 16 species of rhododendrons that bloom during the spring season. Another important destination of the Mundum Trail is Mayung Dada. Located in Temki Mayung rural municipality of Bhojpur, Mayung Dada is a beautiful place with tourism potential. The journey to Mayung Dada, which is at an altitude of about 3,600 meters above sea level, takes place through the middle of a very smooth meadow. During this journey, any tourist with the melodious sound of music wishes to be immersed in the glory of beautiful nature, even if for a short while. The Mayung area is also a special observation point for horses. The attraction of horses roaming freely under the open sky is another unmissable feature of Mayung Dada. Not as cold as the Himalayas, nor as hot as the Tarai. The Mayung area is also a habitat for the globally endangered red panda. During the Mayung journey, adorned with biodiversity and nature, one can enjoy the rhododendrons that bloom vibrantly across the hillsides in the spring. One can sit on various mystical hills and move forward with the cool breeze, mountain views, and by cherishing the natural beauty in their heart and soul. The blooming chap, rhododendron and sunakhari flowers in the months of Falgun, Chaitra and Baisakh captivate the hearts of tourists. The ever-changing weather and the view of the mountain range right before the eyes can make one feel a heavenly bliss on earth when one steps on Mayung Dada. From Mayung Dada, most of the hilly districts of eastern Nepal, as well as the high hill plains and villages of Nepal and India, look as if they are in the palm of one's hand, making one want to keep watching. When the crimson rays of early morning sun touch the mountains on the other side, the joy of kissing the heights is immeasurable. From Mayung Dada, one can also view more than 24 beautiful Himalayan peaks. This includes Charbate, Mera Peak, Nuptse, Everest, Lhotse, Lhotse Sar, Makalu, Kanchenjunga and Kumbhakarna. Travelers say is less tiring and also does not give one altitude sickness. The trail located in the Mayung region is considered excellent, given the Laliguras trail of the TMJ region or the Tinjure, Milke, Jaljale area and the Khapta trail of the west. On the Mundum trek, after passing through Chakhewa Bhanjang, Mayung Dada, Khas Pokhari, Satobato, Laure Bhir, Rawathap and Salpa Bhanjang, on the fourth day of the journey, one reaches the famous pilgrimage site Salpa Pokhari. Salpa Pokhari is situated at an altitude of 3,400 meters above sea level and is considered by the Kirati people as their ancestral place of origin. Kirati people hold a belief that one must visit Salpa Pokhari at least once in their lifetime. Hence, during Udholi and Ubholi full moons, many pilgrims visit Salpa Pokhari, a place filled with religious faith and natural beauty. Salpa Pokhari, known as the confluence of 4 districts, Khotang, Solukhumbu, Bhojpur and Sankhwa Sabha, is a place of natural beauty. Salpa Pokhari is located in Dobhani village of Salpa Silichung rural municipality in Bhojpur. It can be reached via the Mundum trail, passing through Dikdel in Khotang, Lal Kharka and Mayung Dada. However, there are other routes to reach Salpa Pokhari as well. It is said that Tenzing Norgay Sherpa and Edmund Hillary used the route through Salpa Pokhari during their first ascent of Mount Everest. Salpa Pokhari is also a multi-religious center of faith, as apart from Kiratis, various ethnic groups, including Hindus and Buddhists, hold fairs at this place 4 times a year. There is a religious belief that people who are born unable to speak can start speaking after being dipped in the waters of this pond, and childless couples are blessed with children after visiting Salpa Pokhari. Silichung Dada with Salpa Pokhari as its base camp is an important destination for tourists trekking the Mundum Trail. Tourists who reach Salpa often make a return trip to the summit of Silichung Dada, which stands at an altitude of 4,100 meters. Specially considered a significant center of religious faith for the Kirati people, from the Silichung Peak one can easily view the Himalayan range as well as the flat plains of the Tarai. From Silichung, 6 Himalayan peaks including Everest, Makalu, Kanchenjunga, Kumbhakarna and Mera Peak can be seen right before one's eyes. The Salpa Silichung Peak, the highest point in the religiously and touristically significant district of Bhojpur, is established as the tallest among Temke Dada and Moyung Dada. There is a popular belief that wishes are fulfilled after visiting and offering prayers at the peak of Silichung. Silichung Peak is located on the border of Bhojpur and Sangkhwa districts. It is useful not only for anchoring one's religious faith, but also for savoring the unique blend of nature and culture. From the peak of Silichung, one can directly see Salpa Pokhari to the south and the villages of Solukhumbu, Sangkhwa and Bhojpur. The valley and plains formed by the Arun River, which flows through Bhojpur and Sangkhwa can be easily viewed from this area. From Silichung, one can also enjoy panoramic views of the sunrise and sunset. At sunrise, a captivating view of mist in the Arun Valley can be seen from this spot. When the weather is clear, climbing Silichung Peak brings a feeling of heavenly bliss. The Silichung area is as naturally beautiful as it is culturally significant. In recent times, Kirat, Hindu and Buddhist followers have come to regard Silichung Peak as a common pilgrimage site. A large number of shamans gather here during the full moons of Bhadra, Kartik and Vaisakh. Shamans in particular ascend Silichung to gain power and knowledge. The fragrance of the extremely aromatic bhairung, sunpati and other fragrant herbs and flowers found around Silichung makes the stay there even more pleasant. There is a Mundum myth that Kirati people gain power from this area, envisioning it as the place where the world was created, starting from the hearth, the main pillar, the main door, the eaves, the flower garden, the resting place, and the final water source, while praying to their ancestors for divine power. Upon reaching this point, the Mundum trek can be considered complete for the time being. The Mundum Trail is an excellent destination for tourists who want to get close to the Himalayas and enjoy their beauty. The hundreds of types of flowers and birds seen during the Mundum trek make the journey even more interesting. The path is completely covered with the national flower rhododendron in various colors. Being a confluence of nature, culture, and Kirati civilization, tourists get to taste a sweet flavor during the Mundum trek. People of all age groups can undertake this trek. On both sides of the trail, the language, religion, rituals, and culture, as well as the lifestyle of 10 different Kirati-speaking Rai groups are vibrant. This region contains descriptions of the Kirati people from their creation to their civilization, their migration, various activities and rituals and traditions from birth to death. During this journey, one can truly feel a spiritual connection with their ancestors and with those who have passed. locals have added new dimensions of tourism to the Mundum Trail. Along with homestays, one can also experience goat stays, which is staying in a herder's shed during the Mundum trek. Local herders warmly welcome the trekkers. This trail of indigenous civilization has recently emerged in the tourism world as a top cultural destination. Therefore, developing the Mundum Trail, an exceptional confluence of nature and culture, into a model destination for recreation and study for both domestic and international visitors has become a pressing priority.
नमो हिरण्यबाहवे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतये उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः।
Nepal MPs urge action on economy and rural sectors amid growing challenges, demand reliable irrigation systems for farmers. Hailstorm triggers food crisis fears in Nepal's Dai Lake district. Hundreds of farming families lose crops as aid distribution begins. Bagmati and Gandaki lead Nepal's provincial growth outlook. Madhesh records lowest despite ranking 4th in national economy. Nepal's ministry restructuring sparks confusion. Public service delivery disrupted owing to unclear jurisdictions. Extreme weather hits South Asia with record heat and rain. Northern India faces dangerous heat wave as Thailand braces for flooding and storms. And Nepal women's football team bade farewell ahead of SAF Championship. 23-member squad led by Angela Subba to play tournament opener against Bhutan. Good evening, I'm Bijata Bhandari and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Lawmakers in Nepal's House of Representatives have urged the government to address challenges in agriculture, tourism, employment and the broader economy during a special parliamentary session. Members of Parliament raised concerns over irrigation management, shortages of fertilizers and seeds, below average rainfall forecast, and increasing human-wildlife conflict affecting farmers. They also called for reforms in taxation, health insurance, digital payment systems, and development spending, while highlighting issues related to unpaid industrial workers and marginalized communities. Lawmakers further urged stronger diplomatic efforts to resolve trade and connectivity challenges, including tea exports to India and cross-border rail infrastructure projects. Hundreds of farming families in Nepal's western Dai Lake district are facing a growing food crisis after hailstorms and heavy rainfall destroyed crops in Naumule rural municipality last month. Local authorities say around 600 households lost wheat and vegetable harvest, threatening food supplies in remote hill communities where locally produced grain already lasts only a few months each year. Emergency food assistance has begun reaching some affected families, while the local government says preparations are underway to support remaining households. The disaster has renewed concerns over the vulnerability of Nepal's rural farmers to extreme weather and the lack of widespread crop insurance coverage. We will bring more on this in our segment Cover Story later in the bulletin. Now, Nepal's National Statistics Office has projected Bagmati and Gandaki provinces to record economic growth above the national GDP estimate of 3.85% for the fiscal year 2026-27. Bagmati province is expected to post the highest growth rate at 5.40%, followed by Gandaki at 5.01%, according to provincial GDP data released on Wednesday. Madhesh province is projected to record the lowest growth at 1.31%, despite remaining the country's fourth largest contributor to the national economy based on consumer prices. The latest figures also show uneven regional growth across Nepal, with Bagmati continuing to dominate as the country's main economic center. Weeks after Nepal reduced the number of federal ministries from 22 to 18, confusion continues over ministry responsibilities, office locations, and reporting structures. Service seekers and government employees inside the Singadarbar administrative complex say unclear jurisdiction and poor communication have made it difficult to navigate the new system. Several merged ministries are operating under temporary labels, while outdated signboards and unclear office arrangements have added to public uncertainty. Officials and staff are also facing confusion over departmental responsibilities and chain of command, as many employees continue working from previous offices. The restructuring was introduced to streamline governance and reduce administrative cost, but implementation challenges have disrupted public service delivery during this transition period. We will bring more on this in our segment Issue of the Day later in the bulletin. A severe heat wave is continuing across northern India, with temperatures in New Delhi surpassing 46 degrees Celsius and several regions reporting record highs. Authorities say extreme heat conditions are affecting multiple states, including Uttar Pradesh, where some areas recorded temperatures as high as 48.2 degrees Celsius, the highest since 1951. Residents and outdoor workers are limiting exposure to the sun and increasing water intake as authorities warn of prolonged extreme conditions. Meteorological forecasts indicate the heat wave is expected to continue across much of northern India for the next several days. Thailand is experiencing widespread heavy rainfall and thunderstorms as strong monsoon conditions affect much of the country, particularly the southern regions. The Meteorological Department has warned that the southwestern coast could see storms covering around 70% of the area. Authorities are urging residents in low-lying and foothill communities to remain alert for flash floods and runoff. Strong winds over the Andaman Sea are also expected to generate waves of up to 3 meters, prompting warnings for small boats and coastal navigation. Nepal's women's national football team has officially bid farewell ahead of their participation in the upcoming SAF Women's Championship set to begin next week in India. The farewell ceremony was held at the Ministry of Youth and Sports in Singadarbar, where Minister Sashmit Pokhara expressed confidence that the team would return as champions. Nepal has finalized a 23-member squad led by Captain Angela Subba for the regional tournament organized by the South Asian Football Federation or SAF. Nepal will open its campaign against Bhutan on Monday, followed by a group stage match against Sri Lanka on May 31st. A total of 6 teams are competing in the championship, divided into 2 groups. Nepal is placed in Group A alongside Sri Lanka and Bhutan, while Group B consists of host India, Bangladesh and the Maldives. The top 2 teams from each group will advance to the semi-finals. Weeks after Nepal reduced the number of federal ministries from 22 to 18, confusion continues inside the country's main administrative complex over ministry responsibilities, office locations, and reporting structures. Service seekers and government employees say unclear jurisdiction, outdated signboards, and temporary office arrangements have disrupted public services during the transition. We take a closer look at the latest in the government's restructuring drive after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And now it's time for our issue of the day segment. Weeks after the government downsized ministries to 18, confusion looms large over the overlapping jurisdiction and chain of command. Unclear allocation of responsibilities, lack of communication, and ad hoc arrangements leave both citizens and civil employees struggling to navigate the new system. We visited some of the newly merged and split ministries inside Singhadarbar today. Sabika Shrestha brings a report.
The government's move to reduce the number of federal ministries from 22 to 18, intended to streamline governance and cut costs, has led to mounting confusion among service seekers and government employees. Due to unclear jurisdiction and organizational structure, not just the service seekers, even the employees look confused. Although the cabinet endorsed the Nepal government allocation of business regulations, merging ministries with overlapping jurisdictions, the transition on the ground remains disorganized. Service seekers report being unsure where to go for basic services, often being redirected from one office to another after the transition. The lack of clarity extends within the bureaucracy itself. Civil employees are still operating from their previous workstations, uncertain about new reporting lines and departmental responsibilities. In several cases, merged ministries have been temporarily labeled as Block A, Block B, and even Block C without clear indication of which services are housed in which block. Adding to the confusion, outdated signboards of former ministries continue to remain in place, misguiding visitors. Even security personnel stationed at ministry premises have not been adequately briefed, leaving them unable to guide the public effectively. Further complicating matters, the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation has been placed under the Prime Minister's office, but a separate building or clear physical allocation has yet to be designated after MP Mahabir Pon demanded single ministry for the research works. This has created additional uncertainty for both employees and service recipients. While the restructuring aims for long-term administrative efficiency, the current lack of coordination, clear communication, and proper logistical planning has exposed serious gaps in implementation. The government must urgently ensure clear allocation of ministries, proper signage, and public communication to prevent further disruption in public service delivery. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Rasila Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
In this context, we asked the public, what's your say on the government's decision to downsize ministries? Let's have a look at what they had to say in today's Public Pulse.
छिटो छर्दो बनाउनको लागि र मितव्यय अनावश्यक खर्च घटाउनको लागि एकदम राम्रो उचित कार्य। यो मात्रै हैन, अब म त के पनि प्रस्ताव राख्न चाहन्छु भने प्रदेशमा पनि 6वटा 7वटा प्रदेशलाई दिने बाहेक जुन केन्द्रले हेर्ने विधान भएका 6 मन्त्रालय हटाएर केन्द्र प्रदेशमा पनि अझ घटाउनुपर्छ।
यो विकेन्द्रीकृत एकदम राम्रोसँग गर्ने, तर चाहिँ विकेन्द्रीकृत गर्दाखेरि लथालिङ्ग भूमिलाई जतापाउति छोड्न हुँदैन। नागरिकताको अर्थ मन्त्रालयका यस्ता कुराहरू, सुरक्षाका कुराहरू केन्द्रमा राख्नुपर्छ भन्ने मेरो मान्यता छ।
सरकारले मन्त्रालय घटाएको सन्दर्भमा धेरै राम्रो छ। खर्च घटाउनु काम चाहिँ धेरै राम्रो हो। छोरे व्यक्तिले धेरै काम गर्नुपर्छ। यो चाहिँ एकदमै सराहनीय।
ठिक बेठिक भन्नुभन्दा पनि अब व्यापक छलफल गरेर जतिसक्दो मन्त्रालय सङ्ख्याहरू घट्नुपर्छ भन्ने लाग्थ्यो है। अब त्यो के कसरी मिलाएर छन् थाहा छैन मलाई, तर घट्नु र घटाउनु चाहिँ त्यसका लागि म ठिकै लाग्छ।
That wraps up our issue of the day segment. Now on to the next segment. Health authorities in Nepal are warning of a sharp rise in child malnutrition, with the highest number of severely undernourished children reported in fact in Karnali, Sudar Pashchim and Madhya provinces. At the same time, families in remote parts of Dailekh district are struggling with a growing food crisis after hailstorms and heavy rain destroyed crops needed to survive the year. We take a closer look at the state of food insecurity and the deepening nutritional and health risk for the vulnerable communities in Nepal after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And now it's time for our cover story segment. Health authorities in Nepal have reported a concerning rise in child malnutrition, according to the government's ongoing National Nutrition Assessment campaign. The Ministry of Health and Population says the preliminary findings show an increase in both severe and moderate acute malnutrition compared to previous years. Officials report that severe acute malnutrition has risen to 4% from around 1% earlier, while moderate malnutrition now stands at 12% among the children surveyed. Health experts say the highest prevalence has been recorded in Karnali, Sudar Paschim and Madhya provinces, where many children are visibly underweight and face heightened health risk. The nationwide assessment, originally scheduled from April 28 to May 14, has been extended into the month of mid-June to complete data collection and strengthen the policy responses. A food crisis has emerged in 2026 in the remote settlements of Naumule Rural Municipality in Dailek, where locally produced grain is barely enough to feed families throughout the year. Farmers there are worried about how they will survive the year after last month's hailstorm and heavy rain destroyed all of their crops. Some relief assistance has now reached affected families. Diksha Awasthi with our local correspondent Vishnu Sharma brings more from Dailek.
Jhala Thapa Magar and Amrita Sunar of Ward number 4 in Naumule Rural Municipality are currently facing severe hardship after last month's hailstorm and rainfall destroyed all their food grains and vegetable crops. They are deeply concerned about how they will manage food supplies for the entire year.
आलु बन्डा आलु पनि टेस्टी भयो मकै लगाएको पनि टेस्टै अनि फेरि अलि पहिला लगाएको भोल पहिराले पुरी र मकै पनि छैन यस्तै माटो निस्काएर बालौटा मात्रै छ गौमा हाते हालिनम
सबै बारीमै छोड्दिनु
खुर्सानी पनि केही पनि छैन गौ कति धेरै गौ फलेथ्यो अब त्यता कोठराली भराने बेला भित्राउने बेला खाने बेला त्यस्तो लग्दैन त हामी
They are not alone. Around 600 families across most wards of Naumule Rural Municipality have also suffered after hailstorms completely wiped out their wheat and vegetable crops. In the hilly settlements, where agricultural production is already low, locally produced food usually lasts only 3 to 6 months. Now, with all crops destroyed, farmers fear worsening food shortages and hunger. To support the worst affected families, social worker Mahendra Chand, who currently lives in the United States, distributed 170 sacks of food grains after learning about the crisis in his home municipality. Chairperson Chabi Subedi of Naumule Rural Municipality said the local government is also preparing to distribute food assistance to other remaining affected households immediately.
छुटेको लागि गाउँपालिकाको तर्फबाट हामीले न्यूनतम राहत वितरण गर्ने कार्यपालिकाको बैठक र विपद व्यवस्थापन समितिको बैठकबाट निर्णय पनि गरेका छौं.
After receiving food support through the Food Foundation in Naumule itself, local farmers said the aid has provided temporary relief from the food shortage. Every year, farmers in the hilly settlements suffer losses due to natural disasters. Locals say if the government implements compulsory crop insurance programs for farmers, it could provide at least some relief to those affected by recurring disasters.
That concludes our cover story of the day. Now the remaining updates. Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP President Rabi Lamichhane has said that the Prime Minister will soon appear in Parliament to respond to questions raised by the lawmakers. Speaking to media at the Parliament building in Singhadarbar, Lamichhane said information regarding the Prime Minister's appearance would be announced shortly. Lamichhane stated that he is not under pressure over the Prime Minister's delayed presence in the House, but emphasized pressure on the government to deliver according to public expectations.
यो समय त हामी त काम गर्नुपर्छ, छिटो काम गर्नुपर्छ, त्यसकारणले छिटो भएको होइन, ढिलो भएको हो। फेरि हामीलाई आफ्नो एउटा विधानको बाध्यता पनि छ, त्यो वैधानिक बाध्यता पनि भएको हुनाले पनि र एकदम ठिक समयमा हामी सही ढङ्गले अगाडि लिएर जान्छौँ। हाम्रो तयारी पूर्ण रूपमा तयार छ, पार्टीले पूर्ण तयारीका साथ। काम महत्त्वपूर्ण हो, रिजल्ट कुरा हो। तपाईँहरूले सोध्नुभएको प्रश्नमा सरकारले यो काम खराब गर्यो, सरकारको यो काम भएन भन्ने प्रश्नहरू आइदियो भने त्यो मेरो लागि दबावको विषय हुन्छ। सरकारले आफ्नो काम गरिरहेको छ, कामको रिजल्ट आउँदैछ, 100 दिनभन्दा कम समय छ। त्यसकारणले अहिले तपाईँहरूले मिडियाको स्पेस पनि हामी सत्ता पक्षलाई होइन, मलाई होइन, तपाईँहरूको समय महत्त्वपूर्ण समयहरू प्रतिपक्षलाई दिनुभयो भने अझ बढी सजिलो हुन्छ। हामी त 100 दिनसम्मको समयमा हामी काममा बढी फोकस छौँ।
Lamechhane also said the party remains committed to its general convention process, which he said will guide the party's future direction. A task force formed to prepare a discussion paper on constitutional amendment has begun consultations with political leaders in Nepal. The panel is coordinated by Asim Shah, political advisor to the Prime Minister Balendra Shah. Discussions are being held today at the Office of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers to gather suggestions on the possible constitutional amendments. The government of Nepal is facing a major challenge in managing financial resources as it prepares the national budget for the upcoming fiscal year 2026-27. Weak revenue collection, rising current expenditure, and increasing reliance on foreign aid and loans are creating pressure on fiscal stability and development planning. Experts say the government must balance priorities such as governance reforms, energy production, digital transformation, education, health, and cooperative sector reforms, all of which require substantial funding. Officials note that capital spending has been constrained due to growing cost in salaries, social security, and loan repayments, while economists warn of added pressure from slowed economic activity and rising external energy prices. The National Resources Estimates Committee has set the budget ceiling between 1,890 billion rupees and 1,940 billion rupees, with the government expected to raise 1,332 billion rupees in revenue, highlighting the challenge of maintaining fiscal discipline while meeting the public expectations. The government of Nepal has launched an online portal through the Ministry of Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, allowing citizens and stakeholders to submit suggestions on draft bills and existing laws. Minister for Law Sobita Gautam shared this information through a video message on social media on Thursday.
कानुन निर्माण गर्दै गर्दा त्यो प्रक्रियामा नागरिकका अनिवार्य जोड्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरामा म स्पष्ट छु, किनभने कानुनहरू त नागरिककै लागि बन्ने हो। तर नागरिकले आफूलाई निर्देशित गर्ने कानुन कस्तो बन्छ वा बनाउनु पर्छ भन्नेमा आफ्नो धारणा प्रत्यक्ष रूपमा राख्न पाइरहेका हुँदैनन्। कानुन निर्माणको प्रक्रिया निकै अगाडि बढिसकेपछिको अवस्थामा मात्र कतिपय अवस्थामा जनस्तरमा पुग्छ, बहसको विषय बन्छ। कतिपय अवस्थामा त कानुन लागू भएर कानुनमा भएका त्रुटि वा भनौं कानुन अव्यावहारिक भएका कारण समस्यामा परेपछि मात्र नागरिकलाई कानुन त यस्तो पो बनेको रहेछ भनेर पछि थाहा हुन्छ। त्यसैले कानुनबारे सचेतना पनि दिने र नागरिकलाई कानुन निर्माण प्रक्रियामा पनि प्रत्यक्ष रूपमा सहभागी गराउने उद्देश्यले हामीले यो पहल सुरु गरेका हौं।
According to the ministry, the feedback received through the online system will be reviewed by the concerned authorities and may be incorporated into the final draft where necessary. Authorities in Pokhara Metropolitan City 9 of central Nepal have issued the order to demolish encroaching structures built along the Firke Khola stream and around the Pokhara bus park area in Prithvi Chowk. In a public notice issued, the Metropolitan City directed individuals and institutions to remove on their own all permanent and temporary structures built within the river corridor of Firke Khola. The corridor originates from Andheri Kuna in Pokhara 18 and flows through wards 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 and 17 before reaching Gaighat in Ward 6 and merging into Fewa Lake. The Metropolitan City said its technical team has already surveyed and marked the affected area, warning that any remaining structures will be removed by the authorities after the deadline expires. Officials also said the cost of demolition will be recovered from the concerned individuals and organizations if they fail to comply. A legal case was filed at the Pokhara High Court challenging the notice, but was dismissed by the court. The Department of Immigration has launched a digital time card system to make public service delivery faster, easier and more transparent. The system was officially introduced during a program organized at the department on Thursday. According to the officials, the new digital service will allow real-time tracking of applications, instant updates at every stage, and online payment facilities through the digital time card system. Director General Ramchandra Tiwari said the department has already transformed most of its services into digital platforms to improve its efficiency, accountability, and public trust. Now in other news, the number of patients seeking Ayurvedic treatment in Dolakha has been rising steadily as the Bagmati province government expands healthcare services and the facilities in the district. According to Ayurved Hospital Dolakha, more than 10,800 people have received treatment so far in the current fiscal year through Ayurvedic and natural therapy services. The hospital reported that over 3,000 people benefited from yoga services, while thousands more received OPD care and treatment under the Chief Minister Public Health Program. Officials say the introduction of additional services, including acupuncture, Agni Karma and Panchakarma therapies, has increased public attraction toward Ayurvedic treatment. The provincial government is also providing 23 types of medicines at a subsidized rate to encourage wider access to traditional healthcare services. Cocoa farming has started successfully in Jhapa, with local farmers seeing strong potential for high-income agriculture in the region. Leading farmer Nalkantha Tiwari of Mechinangar 4 cultivated the cocoa plants in Bahuntangi after bringing saplings from West Bengal, India 4 years ago. Cocoa, originally native to Ghana in Africa, is widely used in chocolates and confectionery products. Farmers say cocoa oil sells for around 2,500 rupees per litre, while other byproducts also have strong market value. Local farmers believe expanding high-value crops like cocoa could help create jobs and increase income, especially as many people are leaving traditional farming due to low returns. International news coming up next, but before that, a quick look at our headlines once again. Nepal MPs urge action on economy and rural sector amid growing challenges, demand reliable irrigation system for farmers. Hailstorm triggers food crisis fears in Nepal's Tailek district. Hundreds of farming families lose crops as aid distribution begins. Bagmati and Gandaki lead Nepal's provincial growth outlook. Madhesh records lowest despite ranking 4th in national economy. Nepal's ministry restructuring sparks confusion. Public service delivery disrupted owing to unclear jurisdictions. Extreme weather hits South Asia with record heat and rain. Northern India faces dangerous heat wave as Thailand braces for flooding and storms. And Nepal women's football team bid farewell ahead of SAF Championship. 23-member squad led by Angela Subba to play tournament opener against Bhutan. The United States has charged former Cuban leader Raul Castro with conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals and related offenses linked to the 1996 downing of 2 aircraft. The case relates to the shooting down of planes operated by the group Brothers to the Rescue, which resulted in the deaths of 4 people. U.S. officials also announced additional charges, including destruction of aircraft and multiple counts of murder. Cuban authorities have rejected the charges, calling them politically motivated. The case now moves to U.S. courts, where some charges carry penalties ranging from life imprisonment to the death penalty. China has expressed support for Cuba following U.S. charges against former Cuban leader Raul Castro over a 1996 aircraft incident. Beijing has urged Washington to avoid what it described as using legal action as a political tool against Cuba. The U.S. indictment has drawn renewed attention to the tensions between Washington and Havana. The development comes as Cuba continues to face economic difficulties and external pressure.
中方一贯坚决反对没有国际法依据、未经联合国安理会授权的非法单边制裁，反对滥用司法手段，反对外部势力以任何借口对古巴施压。美方应停止对古巴挥舞制裁大棒、司法大棒，停止动辄以武力相威胁。中方坚定支持古巴维护国家主权和民族尊严，反对外来干涉。
The statement follows increased diplomatic exchanges over the case involving the former Cuban leadership. Now, in other update, a South Korean flagged oil tanker has successfully passed through the Strait of Hormuz, marking the first such transit since regional tensions disrupted shipping routes. The vessel, carrying around 20 crew members, had been delayed for months due to restricted access to the strait. The ship resumed its journey after receiving clearance and followed a route through waters near Qatar and the Gulf of Oman. The passage comes after coordination allowing maritime traffic through the strategic waterway. The tanker is expected to reach its destination in Ulsan on June 8. The humanitarian situation in Gaza remains critical, with large numbers of displaced families continuing to live in overcrowded tents and damaged buildings. Temporary shelters have expanded into coastal and port areas due to lack of safe housing. Access to clean water, sanitation and basic services remains limited across the affected areas. Continued displacement has reduced available living space, forcing families closer to the shoreline and the unsafe zones. Aid agencies report ongoing challenges in meeting humanitarian needs amid repeated damage to the infrastructure. A traditional festival in Sakata City in Japan's Yamagata Prefecture has featured a parade of ornate floats attracting large crowds. The Sakata festival, held at the Hiei Shrine, dates back more than 400 years and is one of the region's major cultural events. This year's parade included floats shaped like ships, animals and a giant lion symbol. The lion float, created after a major fire in 1976, is now regarded as a city symbol and cultural attraction. Some festival traditions include children being placed near the lion float as part of a custom believed to bring good health. Business news coming up next. For now, a short breather.
The largest labor union at Samsung Electronics has called off a planned strike after reaching a last-minute agreement with the company management over wages and bonuses. The deal has eased concerns over possible disruption to the global semiconductor supply chain. The strike, set to begin on Thursday, could have affected chip production at Samsung, the world's biggest memory chip maker. The union, representing nearly 48,000 workers, has suspended the action while members vote on the agreement between May 22 and 27. The dispute entered on how profits from rising demand for artificial intelligence chips should be shared. Workers argued that employees producing lower-end chips for firms such as Tesla and Nvidia also deserve higher bonuses. Under the tentative deal, Samsung will introduce a new performance-linked bonus system. Employees will also receive additional rewards in company stock, which cannot be sold for several years. Talks had nearly collapsed earlier this week before South Korea's labor minister intervened to help broker the agreement. The 10th China-Russia Expo has opened in Harbin, China, bringing together regional leaders and businesses from both countries to strengthen economic and industrial cooperation under the theme Trust, Cooperation and Mutual Benefit. The 5-day event features representatives from 16 Russian regions, focusing on projects in agriculture, logistics, industrial parks, and science and technology collaboration. The expo also hosts the 6th China-Russia Forum on Interregional Cooperation. Since its launch in 2014, the expo has served as a direct trade platform, attracting more than 7,200 companies and over 1 million visitors. This year editions includes participants from 46 countries and regions, with around 1,500 companies showcasing across more than 20 industry sectors. Elon Musk's SpaceX has filed for an initial public offering in the United States, setting the stage for one of the most anticipated listings in the market history. The company, which builds a rocket and operates the Starlink satellite internet service, has been valued at around $1.25 trillion. The IPO, expected as early as next month under the ticker SPCX, could become the largest in Wall Street history. The filing indicates that Musk's majority stake could significantly increase his wealth, potentially pushing his net worth beyond $1 trillion. SpaceX, which also has ties to Musk's artificial intelligence firm xAI, has become central to global space and satellite communications infrastructure, with investors closely watching its long-awaited public listing.
Time now for sports update. Nepal is playing its last match of the ICC Cricket World Cup League 2 home series against the United States of America tomorrow. The match is scheduled to begin at 9:30 a.m. at the TU Cricket Ground in Kirtipur. Nepal entered the series under pressure while placed 7th in the standings, but has since improved its position to 5th after winning 5 of its last 7 matches at home. The USA currently leads the League 2 standings with 38 points from 27 matches, level on points with Scotland, which sits second from 32 matches. Oman is third with 31 points from 28 matches, the Netherlands fourth with 28 points from 24 matches, and Nepal is in fifth with 22 points from 27 matches. The Democratic Republic of Congo has cancelled its pre-World Cup training camp in Kinshasa due to an Ebola outbreak in the eastern part of the country. Preparations for the national football team have been relocated to Belgium as health concerns continue to rise, with the outbreak reportedly causing more than 130 deaths. The World Health Organization has described the situation as a public health emergency of international concern, while stating it is not at pandemic level. The team is scheduled to continue its European-friendly matches, including fixtures against Denmark in Belgium and Chile in Spain, as part of its build-up to the tournament. The disruption follows travel restrictions introduced by U.S. authorities ahead of the World Cup, co-hosted by the United States, Mexico and Canada. And now the weather updates, first from across Nepal and then the world. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Nepal MPs urge action on economy and rural sectors amid growing challenges, demand reliable irrigation systems for farmers. Hailstorm triggers food crisis fears in Nepal's Dai Lake district. Hundreds of farming families lose crops as aid distribution begins. Bagmati and Gandaki lead Nepal's provincial growth outlook. Madhesh records lowest despite ranking 4th in national economy. Nepal's ministry restructuring sparks confusion. Public service delivery disrupted owing to unclear jurisdictions. Extreme weather hits South Asia with record heat and rain. Northern India faces dangerous heat wave as Thailand braces for flooding and storms. And Nepal women's football team bid farewell ahead of SOF Championship. 23-member squad led by Angela Subba to play tournament opener against Bhutan. That is it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. Meanwhile, do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.